After the college entrance exams, my boyfriend planned to go hiking with his childhood friends. I warned him not to go because of potential heavy storms. A landslide occurred, killing his childhood sweetheart instantly. We attended university together and began discussing marriage after graduation. On our wedding day, my fiancé plunged a knife into my heart, staining my white veil crimson with blood. If only I'd gone hiking with Ching Ching that day, she'd still be alive. I would have moved heaven and earth to save her. Turns out his childhood sweetheart was always the one who truly held his heart. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the days right after the college entrance exams. Johi, I'm going hiking tomorrow with some childhood friends. Sure, have fun. 1. In the bubble tea shop, Chin Ran and I sat facing each other. Johi, I'm going hiking tomorrow with some childhood friends. I replied calmly, alright, have fun. Chin Ran nodded and added, let me treat you to KFC later, then I'll drive you home. No need, I declined. Meeting his gaze, I added, I need to tell you something. What? Let's break up. Chin Ran froze momentarily before anger flashed across his face. What are you making a fuss about now? We're hiking tomorrow with mixed company. Just childhood friends who grew up together. I chuckled at his explanation. I'm not making a scene. I just don't think we're right for each other. Let's break up. Chin Ran stood up angrily. Fine, we're done then. I don't think we're compatible either. You're petty, spineless, and can't even bother to dress properly. You're way beneath me. With that, Chin Ran turned and walked away. His words didn't bother me. I was just relieved inside. This lifetime, I'm finally free of him. 2. Chin Ran and I started dating during our senior year of high school, back in sophomore year. I developed my first crush on him, drawn to his cheerful charm and that little extra appeal of his top math grades. He'd taken a liking to me since sophomore year, and confessed with a love letter when senior year began. That's how we became a couple. Throughout our final year of high school, we studied together and occasionally hung out during breaks, sipping bubble tea and munching on fried chicken while dreaming about our futures. After the college entrance exams, our first reunion was to estimate scores and choose universities and majors. The second time we met was today, on this very day in my past life. After he mentioned hiking with his childhood friend, I checked the weather forecast on my phone once more before convincing him not to go. The weather's been terrible lately, with heavy storms highly likely in the next 2 days. He decided not to go and announced it in front of me to his childhood friends group chat. The next day, his childhood friends went and got caught in the storm, which triggered a landslide. His childhood sweetheart Wei Qing died on the spot. 2 other close friends were severely injured, and 2 more sustained minor injuries. After that, Chin Ran never mentioned his childhood friends in front of me again. We attended university together, studying while falling in love, and maintained a stable relationship throughout those 4 years. After graduation, marriage naturally became the next step for us. I truly believed Chin Ran and I would spend our lives together, living out ordinary yet blissful days like any other happy couple. But on our wedding day, Chin Ran entered the dressing room, suddenly pulled out a knife, and plunged it straight into my heart. Blood stained the white veil, a horrifying sight. He looked at my shocked expression and spoke slowly. You're the one who killed Ching Ching. If I had gone hiking with Ching Ching that day, she wouldn't have died. I'll move heaven and earth to save her. You're the one who stopped me. This is all your fault. It suddenly dawned on me, his childhood sweetheart was always the apple of his eye. As I watched him viciously draw and plunge the knife in a relentless, repetitive motion, I closed my eyes slowly, and smiled. This time, I won't persuade or stop you. Go climb that mountain, go save your childhood sweetheart. May you two be stuck together for life. 3. When I got home, I told my parents, I don't want to apply to Jilin University anymore. I'd rather go to Xiamen University. In my past life, Chin Ran and I both attended Jilin University. Before this day in my previous life, Chin Ran and I had agreed to apply to Jilin University together, and that's what I told my parents too. What made you change your mind so suddenly? My mother asked in surprise. I've been looking into Xiamen University recently, and after comparing options, I'm leaning more towards XMU. Alright. XMU is a solid choice. Let's go over the majors together, and we'll apply there when the time comes. My dad agreed. I nodded. In this lifetime, I wonder if Chin Ran will end up at Jilin University, or whether he'll even live long enough to attend, but none of that concerns me anymore. I want to live life to the fullest and see the world from greater heights. 4. The next morning at 7. The sun was shining brightly in perfect weather, but around 10 o'clock, dark clouds suddenly gathered. And soon a violent storm broke out. Around 2 p.m., I saw news reports about a landslide in the suburban mountains trapping tourists. With rescue teams already deployed, thinking of Chin Ran and his childhood friends, I felt no suspicion or worry, just that everything happening was fate, meant to be. After that, I stopped following the news. Around 10 p.m., just as I finished showering and was about to sleep, my good friend Su Tian called. Su Tian was my desk mate in senior year. She knew all about my relationship with Chin Ran. Zhou, hurry to the hospital, your boyfriend got hurt, Su Tian said anxiously. He called me saying they went hiking with Chin Ran today when sudden heavy rain triggered a landslide. They're all injured. He said his injury isn't serious, just a forehead scrape, but Chin Ran got the worst of it, something about his leg. Su Tian was too distraught to continue. Perhaps she didn't know the specifics herself. I know he was in the class next to ours during senior year. He and Su Tian met at the school sports meet in freshman year and have been good friends ever since. Actually, all of Chin Ran's childhood friends are taking the college entrance exams this year too. Some are at our No. 1 high, others at No. 6 and No. 8 high schools. Wei Qing goes to No. 8. Unable to empathize with Su Tian's mood, I replied matter-of-factly, Tian. I broke up with Chin Ran. What? She gasped in surprise. After a moment, she said calmly, well, then there's no need to go to the hospital. Zhou, I'm sorry, I didn't know you two had broken up. I'm fine. 5. The next update about Chin Ran came 3 days later in the class group chat. The class monitor sent a message. Class, our classmate Chin Ran got injured in an accident. I'm organizing a visit tomorrow at 9 a.m. Let me know if you're available or want to join. After reading the message, I decided not to go, but then, Su Tian messaged me privately. Zhou, I found out something. Chin Ran's face was disfigured with a long scar, and his left leg was crippled. He mentioned that Chin Ran had his lower leg amputated and would need crutches from now on. What's more, Chin Ran suffered these severe injuries while saving someone named Wei Qing. They say a tree came crashing down, and Chin Ran shielded Wei Qing with his own body. A broken branch slashed across Chin Ran's face while barely grazing Wei Qing's arm. After reading this, I felt at peace. Since they were strangers and I'd never witnessed such scenes, I couldn't empathize or dwell on it. Then Su Tian messaged again. Zhou, let's go to the hospital tomorrow. Even though you broke up with Chin Ran, you're still classmates. Given how badly he's injured, it's only right to visit and show some concern. Just as I was about to reply that I wouldn't go, a new message notification popped up. A private message from the class monitor. Zhou, Chin Ran mentioned he left a few books at your place. He wants you to bring them over tomorrow. I blocked Chin Ran's number and social media accounts the day we broke up. Come to think of it, I do have a few books here with me. Looks like I'll have to go tomorrow then. The next day, I waited for Su Tian at the bus stop before heading to the hospital entrance together to meet up with the class monitor and others. In the private ward, Chin Ran lay on the hospital bed with gauze wrapped around the left side of his face, wearing loose patient clothes that revealed more bandages on his chest. His left leg was tucked under the blanket while his right remained exposed. Wei Qing sat by the hospital bed, feeding Chin Ran small pieces of apple while chatting with classmates. Hi everyone, I'm Chin Ran's childhood friend Wei Qing from No. 8 High School. Thank you for coming to see Chin Ran. Chin Ran's injuries are quite severe, and his wounds, Wei Qing's voice grew heavy as she took Chin Ran's hand, were because of me. It's all my fault. I'm the one who dragged Chin Ran into this. The weakened, Chin Ran firmly squeezed Wei Qing's hand in return and shook her head gently. Don't blame yourself, Qing. Protecting you is what I must do. The two exchanged tender glances before all our classmates, painting a picture of perfect domestic bliss. Some classmates had known about my past relationship with Chin Ran while others hadn't. But now even those who knew could clearly see we'd long since broken up. You two are so close. True love shines through adversity, a classmate remarked. Wei Qing turned abruptly, glanced at me this time, then smiled at the classmate who'd just spoken. Yes, after going through this together, I've fallen deeply in love with Chin Ran. When he came out of surgery, I promised him, I'll marry no one else in this lifetime, we'll be together forever. Several classmates nodded and offered their blessings. Chin Ran turned to me with a sharper gaze. Zhou, where are my books? I reached out, holding 3 books in my hand. Qing, fetch that for me. All right. Wei Qing immediately stood up, strode over, and snatched all 3 books from my hands. With a fierce expression, she hissed under her breath. Chin Ran is mine now, stay away from him. The corners of my mouth lifted as I replied coolly, wouldn't have it any other way, humph. She walked off with an air of arrogance, but before she could return to the bedside, two people burst into the ward, elders, likely a married couple. Wei Qing, what are you doing here? The woman, adorned in gold and silver with an air of luxury, scolded Wei Qing. Wei Qing froze in shock. Dad, Mom. The woman grabbed Wei Qing's arm and pulled her away. Let's go. What's his disability got to do with you? I'm telling you right now, I won't allow you to marry him like you said yesterday, a crippled, ugly freak. Why would you marry him? To be his lifelong caretaker. Wei Qing resisted her mother's pull, standing her ground. Mom, I love him, I'm not leaving. Love, what's there to love about that good-for-nothing, you stubborn girl, get moving right now. The woman dragged Wei Qing away, cursing and hitting her all the while. Qing Ran lay weakly on the hospital bed, struggling as he called out. Qing Qing, Qing Qing, Qing. The man blocked Qing Ran's view of his daughter and warned with an outstretched hand. Qing boy, stop harassing my daughter. Let me make this clear, I'll never let my precious daughter marry you. Don't even dream of marrying our Qing Qing in this lifetime. The man finished speaking and left. Qing Ran, overwhelmed with emotion, struggled again and tore his wound, grimacing in pain. Ah, it hurts, he cried out. The nearby classmates panicked. Quick. Call a doctor. After our group left the hospital room, Su Tian and I said goodbye to the class monitor and headed out first. While waiting for the bus, Su Tian asked me, Zhou, did Qin Ran and that Wei Qing get together after your breakup? I guess so. Truth is, I don't really know. In my past life, I met Wei Qing twice. The first time was right after Qin Ran and I got together, one weekend. He took me out to dinner with He Ji and Wei Qing, where I got to know her. The second time was during winter break in senior year, on Valentine's Day, when Wei Qing also showed up to the pizza date Qin Ran had arranged with me. Other than that, Qin Ran rarely mentioned Wei Qing around me, so I never learned much else. 6. When the college entrance exam results came out, my actual score was 6 points off from my estimate. The gap wasn't significant, so after discussing it with my parents, we settled on Xiamen University as my first choice application. On the day we submitted our college applications, Su Tian asked to meet me. When I went to the dessert shop on the pedestrian street to meet Su Tian, I unexpectedly ran into Wei Qing. Wei Qing was carrying 3 milk teas. Spotting me, he first looked surprised, then walked toward me with a smirk playing on his lips. Zhou he, finished submitting your applications? Wei Qing asked me with cocky confidence. I'd rather not answer. What do you want? Wei Qing remained expressionless. Qin Ran mentioned you're applying to Jilin University. What a shame. Qin Ran won't be going to Jilin University after all. I didn't do well on the exams, so I applied to a private college in the provincial capital. To stay with me, Qin Ran chose the University of Science and Technology next to my school. USTC might not be as prestigious as Jilin University, but Qin Ran and I can see each other every day for the next 4 years. I'll be able to look after him often too. It's perfect for us. Wei Qing then asked, Zhou he, aren't you jealous? I chuckled. Are you absolutely set on marrying Qin Ran? I asked, caught off guard by my sudden question. Wei Qing paused for a second before replying firmly, absolutely, I truly love Qin Ran. Even with the scars on his face and needing a cane to walk, I don't care, it's him I love. The doctor said once Qin Ran's facial scars heal more, cosmetic surgery could potentially remove them completely. I nodded in acknowledgement of Wei Qing's words. Just tell me when you get married, who knows, I might even envy you then, I said. In this lifetime, my greatest wish is to see them stay together forever. I'd be perfectly content if they ended up married, without another word to Wei Qing. I turned and walked away. Wei Qing shouted from behind, just you wait, I'll prove to you that Qin Ran and I are a match made in heaven. 7. After receiving Xiamen University's admission letter, my mom and I went on a 2-week trip. After returning, I stayed at my uncle's place for a while, helping grandma with light housework and doing her laundry. In return, she cooked me many delicious meals. In September, I stepped through the gates of Xiamen University, beginning my college journey. Meeting new classmates and professors while adjusting to campus life kept me busy yet joyful throughout the semester. During spring festival preparations, I bumped into Qin Ran unexpectedly while running errands. The scar on his face was quite noticeable, but not frightening. He stared at me for a moment before hobbling toward me on his crutches. When did you get back? He asked. Last week, I replied flatly. He gave a light chuckle, eyes flashing with disdain. How's Jilin University treating you? Feeling lonely all by yourself? I don't attend Jilin University. Qin Ran's expression turned awkward, then he asked, so which university are you at? I didn't answer. None of your business. Qin Ran must have noticed my coldness and distance by now, his anger rising. Zhou, you're still so petty. I just fell out of love with you and got together with Qingqing. Is this really necessary? I was speechless at his nagging and just laughed. Qin Ran continued, Zhou, let me tell you. This kind of behavior shows poor character, and looking at you now, still as timid as before, you'll definitely be lonely in college and have a hard time. I couldn't be bothered to argue, so I just nodded with a smile to humor him. To my surprise, Qin Ran started pushing his luck after seeing my reaction. He bragged, Qingqing and I both go to college in the provincial capital. Our campuses are right next to each other, super close. Since I have mobility issues, my parents rented an off-campus apartment for me. Qingqing lives with me, she takes care of me daily, even cooks for me. I occasionally tutor her in return. We're doing really well together. Qin Ran suddenly sighed. Being with Qingqing made me finally understand what true happiness is, and what it means to find the right person. Zhou, you're not even in the same league as Qingqing. After the taunt, Qin Ran stepped forward and abruptly asked, do you envy the life Qingqing and I have? I countered with a smile. I've got flawless skin and all my limbs intact. Envious? Qin Ran's face instantly tightened. Satisfied, I turned and walked away. 8. My college years were fulfilling, studying during semesters and working part-time during breaks. My outstanding academic performance made several professors take notice, leading them to recommend me for major professional lectures and field studies. Meanwhile, I actively seized various campus opportunities and learning resources to expand my horizons. During the second semester of junior year, my roommate Zhao Yan told me, Zhou, you're the most knowledgeable, skilled, and capable person in our dorm. I modestly denied it. This summer break, I went back home. The scorching summer left our small town nearly deserted by day, but it came alive at night. The night market buzzed with energy, while the square filled with people strolling, dancing, and children enjoying various amusement rides. That evening, while strolling through the square with my mother, I spotted Qin Ran and Wei Qing. They stood not far ahead of me, though noticeably apart from each other. Qingqing, slow down, wait for me, Qin Ran called out, limping after Wei Qing. After a few steps, Wei Qing abruptly halted and turned around. If you can't walk properly, you shouldn't have come out. Look at yourself, even an old man moves better than this. Qin Ran approached Wei Qing, his face looking sinister under the streetlight. Are you disgusted with me now? Wei Qing glanced around awkwardly before mumbling, no, I'm just feeling agitated. I didn't want to come out today. You're the one who insisted, so I got a little upset. Wei Qing avoided Qin Ran's gaze the entire time she spoke. Qin Ran reached out, placing a hand on Wei Qing's shoulder to comfort her. Alright, my bad. I wanted to take you out shopping. My mom gave me 1,000 yuan this afternoon, and I thought I'd buy you a dress. Wei Qing suddenly looked up. Really? Qin Ran nodded. Wei Qing immediately hugged Qin Ran joyfully. Qin Ran, you're the best. I love you, sweetheart. I love you too. After embracing for a moment, Wei Qing added, let's go check out the square over there. They sell dresses in that area. They're just street vendors, but some stalls have really nice dress designs. Let's go browse. Alright, let's go. I smiled as I watched their retreating figures walking side by side. Xiaohe, what's so funny? Mom asked me. Just saw 2 classmates of mine. They've been dating for years and still going strong. I replied. My mom suddenly laughed too. This kind of relationship is rock solid. You've known each other since school days. Completely transparent. You'll definitely get married. I agreed. 9. During senior year, I started my internship. The following spring, Zhao Yan and I attended the campus recruitment fair. When I saw a particular company's name, I stood frozen in place, unable to snap out of it. This company is a Fortune 500 giant. In my past life, Qin Ran and I both worked here right after graduation, but just over 2 years into the job, Qin Ran murdered me. The benefits were excellent, with offices in multiple major cities offering top-tier work environments and fantastic team dynamics, but in this lifetime, I've got no intention of joining them again. What a surprise to see it here of all places. Zhao Yan snapped me out of my daze, asking, Zhou, are you applying to this company? I shook my head. No. Without overthinking it, Zhao Yan said, let's check out other options then. In the end, Zhao Yan and I chose a company in Shenzhen. After getting the approval from their HR representative, we scheduled the interview. In May, We received our final interview results. Both Zhao Yan and I got the job offers. After moving to Shenzhen, I gradually adapted to the city's environment and settled into my new role. 3 months later, Zhao Yan and I successfully passed our probation periods and became regular employees. That day, just after clocking out from overtime work, I got a call from Su Tian. Zhou, got a minute? I've got some juicy gossip for you. Sure, shoot. The 15-minute walk from the work zone to the residential area was perfect for a chat. He's in Shanghai for business. We're having dinner tonight, and I just learned something interesting. Qin Ran and Wei Qing broke up. I was surprised for a second, but then realized I had nothing to say about it. Thankfully, Su Tian continued speaking. They'd been living together for over 4 years, and tensions had been building up. Wei Qing looked down on Qin Ran as a useless good-for-nothing who couldn't contribute at home and would struggle to find work, hardly someone to build a future with. She decided to end things with him. By the way, He mentioned that Wei Qing vented to him, saying she now felt physically repulsed at the sight of Qin Ran. As for Qin Ran, while he genuinely cared for Wei Qing, his emotional instability, fueled by insecurity and constant second-guessing, made him perpetually anxious and suspicious of her. During one heated argument, he even broke Wei Qing's arm. She tearfully demanded a breakup at the hospital, but Qin Ran begged on his knees until they reconciled. Hearing this, I suddenly burst out laughing. How could Qin Ran treat his beloved like this? Su Tian hadn't finished speaking. What's more, Wei Qing has had 6 abortions for Qin Ran over the past 4 years. Wei Qing's parents have no idea about any of this. I fell silent after hearing this. Su Tian continued with a sigh. I still remember how Wei Qing vowed at the hospital that she'd marry no one but Qin Ran. Who'd have thought things would turn out like this? Besides, Qin Ran became disabled because of Wei Qing. Given the current situation, he suffered tremendous losses. I don't think so. This is exactly what Qin Ran wanted. In our past life, Qin Ran secretly resented me all along, only showing it after biding his time for so long. Killing me on the wedding day. Was that his twisted gift for Wei Qing? This gift means everything to me. Now I've let him have his way. He saved Wei Qing as he wished, and everything that followed was surely what he desired. 10. That spring festival. I didn't return home until Lunar New Year's Eve. On the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, my uncle came to visit and told us something while we were hosting guests. Yesterday in our jurisdiction, 2 families got into a fight. My uncle's a local police officer who works every holiday shift, and today happened to be his first day off after rotation. My aunt looked shocked. During this festive season when everyone's celebrating, what were they fighting about? The uncle said, it's about the marriage arrangement between the 2 kids. Their son is disabled. Apparently he got injured while saving the other family's daughter. The 2 dated in college but broke up after graduation. But the boy's family believes the girl owes their son, especially since she'd promised to marry him, so they went to confront her family about it. Uncle, what happened next? My cousin from my aunt's family listened intently. The girl's family obviously wouldn't agree to marry their daughter to a disabled man, so they refused and kicked them out. The 2 families argued for a while, then the girl's mother struck the boy's mother first. The boy couldn't take it and hit the girl's mother back. Then the girl hit the boy. That's how the fight started. So how did it end? My mom was completely invested by now, pressing for answers. Both the boy's mother and the girl's mother were injured, and the boy's father fell down the stairs. He's still unconscious. So how are you handling this? The aunt asked. Neighborhood disputes take time. For now, we've stationed people with both families at the hospital to wait until the man regains consciousness. The other injured parties have received treatment. Nothing life-threatening. The room fell silent again before Uncle spoke up. Sigh. That boy's family has it rough too. He's their only child, and disabled at that. I heard he actually did quite well on the college entrance exam, but ended up at a mediocre school. After graduation, job hunting hasn't been going smoothly for him either. His personal limitations don't help, and with his average academic background and major, he's apparently been unemployed at home for over half a year now. Now even his girlfriend left him. When I talked with him yesterday, he seemed a bit off mentally, though when recounting past events, he was perfectly coherent. So, it's hard to say for sure. The surroundings fell into complete silence. My uncle suddenly remembered something and turned to look at me. Come to think of it, that girl is about Xiaohe's age. Could she be Xiaohe's classmate? The girl's name is, Uncle paused briefly, Wei Qing. Xiaohe, is she your classmate? No, I shook my head. Indeed, Wei Qing wasn't my classmate. The conversation shifted away from me, and after exchanging a few nostalgic remarks, the relatives gradually fell silent. 11. After the New Year break, I plunged back into the busy work routine. I was fully committed to my work responsibilities. In April, I ranked first in departmental performance metrics, earning public recognition from our director during a company meeting along with a performance bonus. My work performance kept improving steadily. Zhao Yan, working in another department, also maintained excellent job performance. This hectic routine continued until September when Zhao Yan and I unexpectedly conceived the idea of starting our own business. After thorough discussions, we made the decision to launch our startup. After quitting our corporate jobs, we started our entrepreneurial journey in Shenzhen. That spring festival, I didn't go back home. On New Year's Eve, Zhao Yan and I had hotpot in our rented apartment, wishing us prosperity in the coming year. We slept in for the first 2 days of the new year, then hit the ground running with market research on the third day. The entrepreneurial journey has been tough, but we never gave up and kept pushing forward. One April night, I returned to my rented apartment at 1 a.m. While checking unread messages in bed after washing up, I noticed an unfamiliar WeChat contact name, Lu Zik. It took me a while to recall. He was actually my high school classmate, if I remember right. We met during a college winter break when I was visiting my uncle's family. After exchanging pleasantries with Lu Zik, we added each other on WeChat, but never actually chatted in all these years. Lu Zik asked me, "Zhou He, what's your phone number?" Surprised by his sudden request, I hesitated before replying, "What's this about?" Instead of giving my number, it wasn't until the next afternoon that I saw Lu Zik's response, "Qin Ran's looking for you, he wants your phone number." I suddenly felt intense disgust towards Lu Ziqin, blocked and deleted without hesitation. A week later, Su Tian texted me, "Zhou, call me when you're free to chat." After roughly planning my schedule, I replied, "Around 11 p.m., I'll give you a call." That night, I returned to my rented apartment after 10, washed up, lay in bed, and called Su Tian for a voice chat. After catching up with each other, Su Tian said, "Zhou, there's actually something I want to tell you. Go ahead, I'm listening. Qin Ran seems to be looking for you lately." I was momentarily surprised, though not entirely shocked. Su Tian continued, "A couple days ago, He asked for your number. When I asked why, he said Qin Ran wanted to contact you. I didn't give it to him. Today, He kept messaging me, saying Qin Ran's been pestering him nonstop. As Qin's childhood friend, he's in a tough spot and hopes I'll pass along your contact info, but I still refuse to give it." Su Tian said disdainfully, "You and Qin Ran have been over for ages, why's he still bothering you?" I was pleased with Su Tian's response and chimed in, "Yeah, exactly, Tian. Don't give it to him, I never want anything to do with him again, no way I'm giving it," Su Tian said firmly. Then Su Tian shared what she'd recently learned. Qin Ran's in pretty bad shape these days, and he still keeps pestering Wei Qing, but Wei Qing's too proud to even acknowledge him. What's more, Qin Ran's father became vegetative, and now their family's living on welfare. "Oh," I responded flatly, just to acknowledge the information. Su Tian also moved on after the conversation. After all, Qin Ran was just an acquaintance to both of us. 12. I remained fully immersed in building my career. At year's end, our company finally turned a profit. In December, after paying salaries to our 3 employees, office rent, and all other expenses, Zhao Yan and I wept when we saw the remaining balance in our account. The following year, we kept pushing forward, and the business flourished. In July, we moved into proper office space. By October, our team grew beyond 50 employees, and colleagues began addressing me as Director Zhou. Zhao Yan and I remained swamped with corporate affairs, meeting clients, attending strategic business conferences, and hosting networking dinners to explore partnership opportunities for our company. During a December trade expo, I met a senior alumnus from Xiamen University. His name was Xin Yu, 3 years my senior and the CEO of a publicly listed company. We hit it off immediately and exchanged contact details. After that, I started consulting him frequently for advice, occasionally meeting up for chats since our offices were in the same district. Days passed like this with my mind solely focused on work, determined to grow my company stronger. On my return flight from Beijing to Shenzhen, I logged into my long-dormant QQ account while waiting at the gate. A notification popped up immediately, a message from Qin Ran in the temporary chat window. It suddenly dawned on me that both Qin Ran and I were in the high school alumni group. I opened the chat window and started reading. "Zhou He, are you there? I miss you so much, where are you now? I want to come see you, I regret our breakup, are you seeing someone now? Could we give us another chance? I'm completely over Wei Qing now. There's nothing left between us, she's such a tramp, flirting with anything that moves, I despise her. May she never bear children in her lifetime. Zhou He, did you see my message? Could you reply to me? Darling, I miss you so much, I want to be with you and build a life together. I read it and smiled. Upon closer inspection, these messages were actually sent last November, over half a year ago now. Without replying to any of them, I exited the chat window and immediately deactivated my QQ account. 2 months later, our company hit 2 million in net profit for the month. Zhao Yan and I were thrilled. So we threw an extravagant team-building dinner. I invited Xinyu to the dinner as well. He's been my professional mentor and had connected me with valuable contacts. We've since signed partnership agreements with 2 established companies he introduced, and the collaborations are progressing smoothly. Everyone had a great meal and enjoyed themselves thoroughly. The dinner party lasted until 2 a.m. After colleagues gradually left, Zhao Yan departed first. Then Xinyu drove me back to my apartment. Zhao Yan and I no longer live together. Last year when her mother came to Shenzhen, she rented a place to live with her family. When Xinyu's car stopped at my apartment complex entrance, I thanked him and was about to get out when he grabbed my arm. Zhou He, there's something I need to tell you. I looked at him, signaling him to continue. I like you, would you be my girlfriend? Such a straightforward confession made my heart skip a beat. Ever since I met Xinyu, I've been deeply impressed by him. Intelligent, wise, with exceptional decision-making and judgment skills. His high emotional intelligence and social interactions makes him truly outstanding. My heart swelled with joy at that moment, wanting to say yes, to be with him. But then I thought about the company. It's not fully stable yet, and Zhao Yan and I haven't achieved our goals. Would a relationship affect our work? As I hesitated in silence, Xinyu seemed to read my mind and spoke again. Don't worry about work, I'll be right beside you as we climb higher together. You're still free to pursue whatever your heart desires. Now all my worries have melted away. With a smile, I reached out and embraced Xinyu, whispering in his ear, alright then, my boyfriend. Xinyu spent the night at my small apartment. 13. I bought an apartment in Shenzhen at the end of the year, during Spring Festival when I returned to my hometown. I arranged to meet Su Tian. The commercial street was bustling as Su Tian and I strolled arm in arm, chatting away. Suddenly, we both spotted Wei Qing not far away, dressed in a red coat. Wei Qing walked hand in hand with a man, laughing brightly as if sharing some delightful conversation. I felt nothing stirring within me, nor any desire to keep watching her. Just as I was about to look away, a figure abruptly drifted into my line of sight. The dark figure closed the distance to Wei Qing in what seemed like 2 seconds. You bitch, I'll make sure you never enjoy life again, never marry another man, die. The man in the black overcoat drew a dagger and lunged viciously at Wei Qing. You did this to me, and you think you'll live happily ever after, in your dreams, you bitch, drop dead, just die. I regret ever saving you, I'm filled with nothing but regret. As Wei Qing's figure slowly collapsed, Su Tian and I finally saw the man's face clearly. It was Qin Ran. The next instant, Qin Ran suddenly spotted me. Zhou He, you deserve to die too. Why didn't you stop me back then? You're partly responsible for what I become. Go to hell with that bitch. Qin Ran staggered toward me with the knife raised. His crutch took wide strides, the jerky movements making his body sway violently. I was stunned that he had also been reborn, but as soon as I processed it, I felt Su Tian pulling me backward. Oh God, he's lost it, Su Tian said in a panic. Zhou, hurry, be careful. I followed Su Tian back a few steps, watching as Qin Ran drew closer. Then, suddenly, my mind changed. Tian, get away from here, I said, shaking off Su Tian's grip. As Qin Ran swung his knife at me, I swiftly kicked him square in the groin. Qin Ran held in pain before collapsing to the ground. The knife clattered to the floor. I lunged forward, slapped Qin Ran twice across the face, then grabbed the blade and pressed it against his throat. Why should I talk you out of it? Isn't this exactly what you wanted? Qin Ran looked startled. You too. Watching the dawning comprehension on his face, memories of my past life flooded back. I truly wanted to kill him right then, but ruining my life over this scumbag isn't worth it. I love my parents, and I love Xinyu. After the police arrived, I handed them the knife and explained what had happened. The officers took our statements at the scene, then Su Tian and I left. 2 days later, I received a call from Su Tian. Zhou, Wei Qing is dead, Qin Ran will go to prison, Wei Qing was already gone when they rushed him to the hospital that day. Qing Ran has been detained at the police station. The officers will handle everything by the book. I murmured. 14. 2 years later, I bought a house in Australia, that June. Shin Yu and I held our wedding in Ireland. As my beloved slid the ring onto my finger before our closest friends and family, tears of joy streamed down my face. Back in Shenzhen, Shin Yu and I threw ourselves back into our busy work routines. The following year, my company expanded further with a new Wuhan branch. Zhao Yan would oversee operations there for 2 years before handing it over to professional management. I didn't hear about Qin Ran again until 2 years later. When Su Tian held her daughter's first birthday celebration in our hometown, I made the trip back and caught up with He Ji and several classmates. During a group chat, He Ji brought up Qin Ran. Qin Ran passed away the year before last. He was bullied in prison, had a mental breakdown, and later took his own life by ramming into sharp metal plating when the guards weren't looking. The classmates sighed in sorrow upon hearing this. I remained expressionless, saying nothing. A week after returning to Shenzhen, I felt unwell and went for a checkup, only to discover I was pregnant. When Shin Yu found out, he cut short his week-long business trip to Hong Kong and returned that very night. He took my hand and said, "Sweetheart, whatever you need or plan to do next, just name it." I looked at him and said, "I just want to work normally and take my maternity leave as usual." "All right," he nodded. "Then I'll quit my job to drive you to work every day and take care of you at home." I knew what he meant by quitting, hiring a professional manager to run the company so he wouldn't have to micromanage every detail, just focus on major decisions. Sounds perfect, I replied with a smile. It's wonderful to have a soulmate. The end. Story 2. In my past life, after my father's passing, I sought refuge with my betrothed He Yanting in the distant capital. Though He Yanting's heart belonged to another, he was a man of his word and ultimately married me. His true love eventually wed another man. Years later, when He Yanting rose to power, his former love was imprisoned after her husband backed the wrong faction. He Yanting pulled strings to rescue his beloved. From then on, He Yanting never touched me again, while his beloved bore him child after child. Later, he and his beloved passed away one after another. While I toiled tirelessly to raise their children, by the time the children grew up, I had aged beyond recognition. On my deathbed, they wore masks of grief, yet each was secretly counting my last breaths. Only my beloved granddaughter held my hand, her quiet sobs trembling through restrained tears. I overheard father and uncles plotting to bury grandfather with his concubine. "But you're my favorite, I'll make sure you rest beside him." This hollow prestige shackled me in life. What use is posthumous glory now? So I told my little granddaughter, "Lure, Grandma knows you mean well, but I only wish to be buried in my hometown Yuzhou, resting beside my parents, never buried in the He family grave, never bound as their ghost." He Yanting, if there's a next life, if I still remember, I swear I'll never marry you again. 1. When I opened my eyes, I found myself truly back in Yuzhou. Watching my father fading before my eyes, my heart ached with grief and longing. Tears began to fall unbidden. "Dad, I miss you so much, please don't leave me." With trembling effort, father raised his frail hand and gently stroked my hair, with tender affection. "Your father wishes he could stay longer with our precious girl, but making it to your coming-of-age ceremony is already Buddha's mercy." Father contracted that vicious illness 2 years ago. Each attack brings unbearable headaches. The physician gave him no more than 6 months to live. But father endured month after month for my sake, until last month when I came of age and could marry. Only then did he let go, allowing his body to fail without further struggle. He had the physician prescribe sedatives to ease his suffering, though the medicine brought him no benefit, only harm. After taking the medicine, father often slipped into unconsciousness. Now was one of his rare moments of clarity. Father asked me, "Has the He family still not replied, after my coming-of-age ceremony?" My father sent a letter to the He family in the capital. I nodded. "We received their reply yesterday, madam." He said she'd been expecting our letter since my coming of age. She mentioned they've sent someone to escort me to the capital. The envoy should still be on the road, but I was lying. There was no reply from the He family, and no one would come for me. In my past life, father worried about this matter until his final moments, still concerned for me. I couldn't bear to see him fret over me any longer, so I told a white lie. When father heard the He family had sent word, he was utterly relieved, repeating "good" several times. We kept chatting about this and that until father drifted back into deep slumber. Before bedtime, father told me to get some rest, yet I remained by his bedside, unwilling to leave. knowing these would be his last moments. I couldn't bear to miss accompanying him on his final journey, holding father's hand. I felt the warmth slowly fade from his fingers. I didn't break down in tears until dawn, when his hands turned completely cold. I had lost father once again, too. After father's funeral, unlike my previous life, I didn't immediately take the entire Shin family fortune to the capital to seek refuge with the He family. Instead, I sent a letter to the capital. The letter cited my reluctance to leave my homeland as grounds for dissolving the engagement with He Yanting. Enclosed were the keepsake the He family had given as a betrothal pledge, along with 3,000 taels of silver. In my past life, I only learned upon reaching the capital that the He family couldn't respond because they'd long been incapable of sending a reply. The He family was once immensely wealthy, but Yanting's father developed a gambling addiction in his youth, squandering their fortune before passing away, left as a widow with her son. Lady He nearly worked herself blind to fund He Yanting's education. In my past life, my arrival relieved their desperate situation. Grateful for my life-saving help, Lady He always treated me with kindness. Because of this, He Yanting, though without affection, always accorded me due respect. Though I won't be around forever, I'll help where I can. They're good people who always return kindness. After mailing the letter, I headed to the gambling den. I needed to find someone. 3. The gambling den owner was an old friend of my father's. I called him Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang looked surprised to see me. Xiao Zichuan, didn't your father send you to the capital? I repeated my usual line. Yuzhou is my home. I don't want to be too far from father, so I've already asked the He family to cancel the engagement. Uncle Wang sighed. You've got some spine, girl, to turn down such a fine match just like that. But I understand, the He family was too grand for us anyway. Calling off the engagement might be for the best. After exchanging pleasantries, Uncle Wang asked what brought me here. I asked if there was a gambler named Jiang Dali at the den. Old Wang pondered for a moment. Yes, why do you ask? I need you to rig a game, make Jiang Dali lose big, force him to pawn his wife to settle debts. I want his wife. I'll cover your losses. Without asking for details, Old Wang agreed immediately. Everything went smoothly. Jiang Dali, a longtime gambling addict, took the bait without hesitation. Under Old Wang's coercion and persuasion, Jiang Dali agreed to pawn his wife Yu Xiaqiu to the gambling den, but on one condition: she had to be sold far, far away. My soldier son isn't one to be trifled with. If he finds out I sold his parents, he'll skin me alive. Old Wang agreed. By dusk, Old Wang had delivered Yu Xiaqiu to the Shin residence. 4. In her past life, Lady He's constant illnesses were diagnosed by imperial physicians as heart sickness. Requiring gradual recuperation, I became obsessed with studying medicinal cuisine, spending all day in the kitchen where I gradually grew close to Aunt Chiu, the cook. Aunt Chiu told me she was originally from Yuzhou too, until her husband sold her to pay his gambling debts. After drifting from place to place, she eventually reached the capital where her culinary skills got her sold by a trafficker to the Shin residence. When I met her, she'd already been away from home for 10 years. Aunt Chiu was only in her 30s then, looking far younger than when I first met her in my past life. The moment she saw me, she dropped to her knees, pleading with a tear-streaked face not to be sold away from home. If my son returns and finds me gone, he'll be frantic with worry. I felt torn. My original plan had been to take Aunt Chiu to Shuzhou. Besides being an excellent cook, Aunt Chiu also possessed a family heirloom skill in carving. In my past life, Aunt Chiu gifted me numerous wooden hairpins on my birthday. The hairpins were exquisitely carved, rustic yet elegant. I adored them dearly. To my surprise, wearing it to the banquet earned me admiration from many noble ladies. Later, I had Aunt Chiu put aside her kitchen duties to focus solely on crafting wooden hairpins for me to give as gifts. Aunt Chiu was delighted. Carving was her passion. The work came effortlessly, and she earned more than her previous wages as a cook. Regrettably, I was naive back then, only knowing to use jade hairpins and such as presents, missed the golden opportunity to open a shop. Just when He Yanting suggested funding Aunt Chiu's Kyoto store, her years of overwork claimed her life. Aunt Chiu never took apprentices, so her exquisite craftsmanship died with her. Now I've found her ahead of time and helped her break free from her husband early. I'll never let her overwork herself to an early grave like in our past life. The tricky part is, I can't stay in Yuzhou for long. Remaining unmarried in Yuzhou with this vast inheritance would only attract ill-intentioned suitors. Besides, the local women here tend to be rather brash and favor gaudy gold jewelry. Elegant yet unassuming items like wooden hairpins hardly find buyers. That's why I plan to take Aunt Chiu to Shuzhou. young ladies their fancy delicate trinkets, with Aunt Chio's craftsmanship. Will surely break into the market, need to devise a win-win solution. 5. I helped Aunt Chio to her feet. Aunt Chio, please rise first, let me explain properly. Aunt Chio nervously settled into the chair the maid brought over. You're so kind, whatever you need, just say the word, anything except making me leave Yuzhou. I sighed, I know you're worried about your son, but I have a shop in Shuzhou needing a skilled carver. Your craftsmanship, I've heard much about it. Aunt Chio was pleasantly surprised. Delicate yet physically demanding crafts like carving had always been considered men's work. Her exceptional skills had previously gone entirely untapped. The prospect of earning money through her ancestral carving techniques now filled her with excitement, but when she processed my mention of traveling to Shuzhou, she grew visibly uneasy. Miss Shen, I'd love to go, but my son, don't worry about that. Just tell me your son's name and where he's stationed. I'll write him a letter with our Shuzhou address so he can come straight to you when he returns. In my past life, I actually wrote a letter for Aunt Chio, but it was so long ago that I've temporarily forgotten the man's name. Besides, after his meritorious return, the emperor bestowed a new name upon him. Hardly anyone remembers his original name now. Aunt Chio stood up excitedly when she heard this. Wonderful, miss, you're truly kind-hearted. My son's name is Jiang Nyonyo, he's serving in the military down in Longnan. The name Jiang Nyonyo instantly transported me back over 30 years. No wonder I'd forgotten that name. Its childish simplicity clashed terribly with the man's formidable presence. 6. This happened about a year after Aunt Chio's passing, when the gatekeeper announced some troublemaker demanding to see Yu Xiaqiu, just wouldn't leave no matter what. Few knew Aunt Chio by her formal name, and I immediately suspected her son might have come looking, but upon seeing him, I thought I'd mistaken his identity. The man was disheveled, towering and muscular with a swarthy complexion. He bore no resemblance whatsoever to Aunt Chio's delicate features. For a moment, I thought Aunt Chio's gambling addict husband had come knocking, until he introduced himself as Jiang Nyonyo. I half believed him. There was really no advantage in pretending to be Aunt Chio's son. All I could do was tell him where Aunt Chio was buried and hand over the belongings she'd left with me. Aunt Chio's possessions included some silver tails she'd entrusted to me, along with clothes and a few wooden hairpins. Jiang Nyonyo only took the clothes and hairpins, insisting I keep the silver as thanks for safeguarding his mother's belongings. I waved my hand dismissively. Money's no issue for me. This silver was Aunt Chio's lifelong savings for you, her heartfelt gift. You should take it. Jiang Nyonyo said no more, kowtowed to me, and then took his leave. Little did I know then that this scruffy bearded man would later become the renowned guardian general of the nation. 7. After settling all affairs at the Shen residence, I prepared to depart for Shuzhou with Aunt Chio, yet unexpectedly, on the eve of our journey to Shuzhou, I received a reply letter from He Yanting. My heart fluttered when I first saw the letter, but I breathed a sigh of relief upon feeling the raised object inside the envelope. This jade pendant wasn't the same one I'd sent to the He family. It seemed He Yanting had agreed to call off the engagement, but when I opened the letter, I froze in shock. Only a few lines were written. I appreciate your kindness and generosity. I've already pledged allegiance to the Cloud Sovereign. Should you ever need assistance, simply send word. I'll help however I can. Cloud Sovereign was the later honorific title of the fourth prince. The emperor had 4 sons, with the fourth prince being the youngest. Back then, no one expected he would ascend the throne. In his past life at this time, He Yanting was still diligently studying to earn scholarly honors. He had no intention whatsoever of befriending a prince who seemed destined to never inherit the throne. Now that he's able to pledge allegiance to the fourth prince ahead of time, he must have been reborn too, though it's unclear exactly when he returned. To be honest, I don't actually hate him. Back in the He residence, he treated me with utmost consideration, giving me all the dignity befitting the first wife. Even when he favored Lady Lin, he never let her overstep her place before me. What I resent more is myself. There were so many chances to leave the He household and live a different life. I failed to cherish what I had. And only when He Yanting and Madame Lu passed did regret consume me. But with the next generation still unready, I couldn't bear to watch He Yanting's life's work crumble to dust, so I remained the stabilizing force in the He household, until the very will to seek a different life withered away. This lifetime, I'll never make that mistake again. I let out a sigh and held the letter over the candle flame until it burned. Perhaps it's for the best. He's far cleverer than I am, and will surely go further than in his past life. With him as my backing, I can charge ahead with complete confidence. Right after father's funeral rites concluded, I sent Steward Lu to Shuzhou. 8. I had him scout for suitable shops and courtyard houses in Shuzhou. We'd buy any promising finds. By the time Aunt Chiu and I arrived in Shuzhou, Uncle Lu had everything sorted. Instead of having Aunt Chiu start work immediately, I took her to visit jewelry stores across Shuzhou. So Aunt Chiu would know what style of jewelry the ladies of Shuzhou prefer. Once Aunt Chiu makes her selection, I'll have Uncle Lu accompany her to purchase the timber. I'd spend my days at a riverside tea house, outwardly admiring the Jiangnan scenery, but secretly waiting for someone. I waited at the tea house for 3 days. The person I'd been waiting for finally arrived. I took the seat with the best view on the tea house's second floor. 9. This spot was usually reserved for VIPs. I only got it because the regular patron wasn't coming today. After much pleading and paying triple the usual tea fee, I finally secured this spot for 3 days. I waited 2 full days before finally seeing the person I longed to meet on the very last day. A mistress and her maid ascended the stairs together. The leading lady possessed peach blossom features, adorned with jade hairpins, though dressed in modest rain-washed blue. Her exquisitely tailored gown immediately revealed her as a woman of standing. The lady frowned slightly upon seeing me, her silent displeasure palpable in the air. Her maid muttered beside her, "How could this shopkeeper let someone else take Madame's seat? I'll have them remove her immediately." Though the maid spoke softly, I pretended to overhear her complaint. I turned my head in surprise to look at the noblewoman. "Madam, was this seat originally yours?" "My sincerest apologies. The view here was simply breathtaking, so I persuaded the innkeeper to let me stay for 3 days. I'll leave immediately upon your arrival so as not to spoil your enjoyment of the scenery." With that, I rose to my feet, making a show of preparing to depart. The lady in question was Lu Qingqing, my dearest confidante from our previous lives in the capital, a woman whose heart was always quick to soften. Though initially irritated, she now seemed flustered by my words. With flushed cheeks, she stopped me from leaving. "Since you enjoy this place too, why not join me and admire the view together?" I smiled in agreement and, to show gratitude for her kindness, offered to treat her to tea. Lu Qingqing didn't decline. In my past life, Lu Qingqing and I had been close friends for decades. I knew her preferences like the back of my hand. As long as I could meet her in person, winning her over wouldn't be a problem. True enough. After chatting for about 15 minutes, Lu Qingqing shed her initial aloofness and became noticeably warmer. 10. Lu Qingqing was the daughter of the Grand Commandant, who married Xiao Zongji, the youngest son of the Chancellor, shortly after her coming-of-age ceremony. Having just entered officialdom, Xiao Zongji was assigned by his father to serve as the county magistrate of Shuzhou, a deliberate move to temper the young official, since the young couple had no children yet. Lu Qingqing came along with them. Xiao Zongji served as the county magistrate in Shuzhou for 6 years before returning to the capital, after which he took up a permanent post at the Dali Temple. Lu Qingqing was both naive and proud by nature. She once told me how excruciatingly difficult her days in Shuzhou had been. Most ladies in Shuzhou care more about fine clothes and jewelry than poetry and literature. She found their company utterly dull, yet being of higher status, she was constantly sought after by her husband's colleagues' wives, hence her frequent escapes to a riverside tea house for peace. I once studied poetry and classics diligently to win her favor. The wooden hairpin crafted by Aunt Chiu later served as an icebreaker, finally helping me strike up a friendship with her. Initially befriending her was on He Yanting's advice, but I soon found her genuinely sweet and guileless, which made me treat her more sincerely. Over time, we became true kindred spirits. Thanks to my thorough preparations, my connection with Lu Qingqing blossomed even more smoothly than in my past life. Yet after chatting with her for 2 hours, I unexpectedly took my leave. Lu Qingqing was just getting into the conversation when my departure left her momentarily stunned. Seeing her reaction, I proposed a boat outing tomorrow. Her face immediately brightened as she cheerfully agreed. My friendship with Lu Qingqing developed remarkably smoothly. 11. A month later, we arranged to meet again at the tea house. For this meeting, I deliberately brought along the new hairpin Aunt Chiu had crafted. Knowing her fondness for bamboo, I'd asked Aunt Chiu to shape the pin's stem like bamboo segments and carve various bamboo leaves and tassels at the top. Lu Qingqing was utterly enchanted when she saw it. I know Lu Qingqing's temperament. The more serious the matter, the less you should beat around the bush. So I came straight out and asked for her help. Offering these hairpins as payment, she agreed almost without hesitation. I was surprised. "Aren't you going to ask what it's about first?" Lu Qingqing flashed a mischievous smile. "No need for that. We've met about 10 times this past month. I can tell you're not the type to take advantage." these wooden hairpins may be delicate and elegant, but they're hardly valuable, so whatever favor you're asking must be something simple." Her response genuinely stunned me. She seems far sharper than in her past life, or was she deliberately dimming her brilliance last time to accommodate me? Flushing slightly, I dropped my pretentious airs and stopped beating around the bush. I straightforwardly expressed my hope that she could wear the wooden hairpin at the peach blossom banquet hosted by the prefect's wife. Lu Qingqing's eyes lit up as she clapped her hands in delight. "Peach blossoms are rather vulgar, but they'll make the bamboo hairpin appear even more elegant by contrast." I felt somewhat embarrassed. I hadn't considered it so deeply. I simply thought with so many attendees that day, having a fashion icon like Lu Qingqing could help promote my work. I then carefully updated Lu Qingqing about my shop's progress, explaining its location and the available designs. When the ladies come asking, she'll have something to tell them. Lu Qingqing played along perfectly, seeing her reaction. I suddenly felt 6 wooden hairpins made for a rather paltry gift. I then treated her to dinner at the Gathering of Sages restaurant. Lu Qingqing gladly accepted the invitation. Aunt Chiu had crafted about 100 hairpins over the past month. 12. We opened the shop just one day before the Peach Blossom banquet. The shop was named Silken Tresses, with the calligraphy done by Lu Qingqing herself. Though located on a bustling street, the shop's low-profile presence meant few knew of its existence. Occasionally, a handful of ladies would wander in, initially intrigued by the wooden hairpins, but their hands would quickly withdraw upon spotting the price tags nearby. After losing several customers in a row, Aunt Chiu grew anxious. "Miss, it's not like this trinket is worth much. Should we lower the price a bit?" I shot her a glare. "I told you not to call me miss. Call me Jichuan." Watching Aunt Chiu's awkward nod, I continued. "This hairpin wasn't made for penny pinchers anyway. If we price it too low, those wealthy madams will think it's beneath their status and refuse to buy. Besides, given Lu Qingqing's social standing, selling the hairpin too cheaply would make her lose face." Aunt Chiu seemed only half understanding, so I sighed and told her not to worry, suggesting we wait a couple more days. As it turned out, we didn't need to wait that long. Several maids started trickling in by the following evening. The shop displayed dozens of different wooden hairpin designs. The maids selected various styles: plum blossom, peony, auspicious cloud, and fishtail hairpins among others, totaling 10 pieces altogether. Before leaving, they asked if these designs were one of a kind. I explained that while the wooden hairpins share similar styles, each carving has unique details. Only then did they feel assured enough to make the purchase and leave. Aunt Chiu clutched the still warm coins in excitement. "I can't believe someone actually bought them." I gave her a hug and said, "See, I told you your craftsmanship was too good not to sell." Aunt Chiu was so moved she couldn't hold back her tears. I couldn't stand her sentimental display any longer, so I told her to put the money away properly, closed up shop and headed home to rest. There's a long road ahead, no need to go all out from the start. After the Peach Blossom banquet, Wan Qingxi's business began to thrive. 13. Worried Aunt Chiu might be overwhelmed, I suggested she take on apprentices. Aunt Chiu said apologetically, "You pay me so generously, I'll make sure the shop never runs out of stock, even if it means cutting back on sleep." "Absolutely not. I can't have her working herself sick again." Without hesitation, I took her to the slave market and demanded the broker show us the hard-to-sell girls. These girls were either disfigured or emaciated, their wretched lives written plainly on their faces. As expected, Aunt Chiu took pity on them and dropped her objections to taking apprentices. With the mindset of saving whoever we could, we picked a few quick-handed workers. These girls endured great hardship in their youth. After we brought them home, they worked diligently, terrified of being sold again. After Aunt Chiu trained them for a month or two, the girls gradually became proficient. Once the production of wooden hairpins stabilized, I had Aunt Chiu experiment with carving other items like small decorative pieces. Aunt Chiu tried her hand at carving little rabbits, butterflies, and some decorative screens. To everyone's surprise, they became quite popular and sold like hotcakes. And just like that, our Wan Qingxi business flourished more and more. With the county magistrate backing us, I wasn't worried about jealous rivals causing trouble. I never expected to attract people even more despicable than those simply jealous of my business, and what they truly wanted was me. When I first arrived in Shuzhou, I told everyone I had a fiancé who'd joined the military. 14. Just to deter any unwelcome advances, no matter how wonderful a man might be, I've resolved never to marry and confine myself to domestic life. Yet here comes someone persistently pursuing me, someone I can't outright reject. The man was fanning himself. Passing by Wan Qingxi for the 8th time this month, spotting me, he flicked open his fan with practiced ease. With an air of self-proclaimed charm, he nodded at me and said, "Miss Shen, the weather is lovely today, might I have the pleasure of your company for a boat ride?" This was Qin Yuan, the magistrate's son. Though thoroughly annoyed, I forced a smile and returned his greeting with practiced courtesy. What unfortunate timing, Master Qin. I'm afraid I must decline, as I've already promised the county magistrate's wife to join her for tea today. Qin Yuan was visibly disappointed, but didn't press the matter. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he took his leave. I watched his retreating figure with growing unease. Ever since Wandering Silks made its name in Shuzhou a year ago, it's become a magnet for officials' wives seeking its renowned services. Even the prefect's wife paid a visit to browse our wares. But I never expected Qin Yuan to take notice. Qin Yuan's no ordinary man. His aunt is the first prince's birth mother, making him quasi-royalty. He showed interest in me immediately, though he's not only married but keeps a harem of concubines. Were he merely lustful, that'd be one thing, but the man's downright vicious behind that facade. Lu Qingqing warned me that Qin Yuan's household was notorious for maids and concubines mysteriously dying from time to time. I absolutely cannot fall into that man's clutches, though Lu Qingqing has been protecting me this past year. Xiao Congji's term in Shuzhou is about to end. In the days that followed, I turned things over in my mind and realized I couldn't afford to delay any longer. I immediately penned a letter and sent it to the capital, hoping He Yanting would lend a helping hand. With his wit and intelligence, he must have already won the 4th prince's complete trust. A month after sending the letter, Qin Yuan finally stopped pestering me. I was truly relieved. Time flew by, and before we knew it, Lu Qingqing's husband's term had come to an end. It was time for them to return to the capital for his official debriefing. 15. On the day of their departure, I accompanied the family to the city gates to see them off. Lu Qingqing was particularly reluctant to part. Holding my hand with slightly reddened eyes, she said, "Zhichuan, are you really not coming to the capital with me? The money you've made could easily open 5 shops there." I shook my head regretfully. Wood carvings are just novelties. They won't sustain a business long-term in a place like the capital. Besides, merchants from the capital have been buying hairpins from me here in Shuzhou for years. I can earn their money right where I am. The reason for avoiding the capital lies not in the present, but in the future. Kyoto is destined to witness another war of the 4 kings. In my past life, both He Yanting and the court officials treated this matter as taboo, hence my limited knowledge of it. That night in Kyoto, countless lives were lost. The crown prince staged a rebellion, but the 2nd and 3rd princes led troops to suppress it, resulting in 1 dead and 1 wounded. The crown prince fought his way to the throne hall, only to be slain by the 4th prince, who arrived last to defend the emperor. The casualties that night in Kyoto weren't just soldiers, many merchants perished as well. He Yanting reported that bandits had been lying in wait in the capital, taking advantage of the chaos to loot numerous shops. Many innocent civilians fell victim to these crimes. I couldn't bear to see my painstakingly built Wan Qingxi suffer such misfortune. I had no choice but to take temporary refuge in Shuzhou. Lu Qingqing shot me an exasperated glare after my explanation. "Oh sure. You've got everything figured out, except how lonely I'd be without you." I tilted my chin toward the pair of curious children peeking from the carriage behind her. "Lonely? You'll be too busy for that." As she turned to look, the 2 little rascals ducked back into the carriage to avoid their mother's notice. Lu Qingqing only saw the swaying carriage curtain when, who knows what came over her. She suddenly blushed and pinched my arm. "Stop your nonsense. You can't even sort out your own life. Yet you're worrying about me." Rubbing my sore arm, I thought to myself, she's the one with a wandering mind, who knows what she's imagining. After the playful banter died down, Lu Qingqing started fretting about my marriage prospects again. "Has your fiancé still not returned from Longnan?" I knew what she was implying, so I nodded resolutely. "No, he hasn't, but I vow to marry none but him in this lifetime. Even if he never returns, I'll live out my days tending his memorial tablet." Lu Qingqing's eyes reddened with pity at my words. "You foolish girl," worried she might actually burst into tears. I quickly guided her toward the carriage. There, don't worry about me, hurry along now. Once you reach Kyoto, I'll write to you every single day. Promise you won't feel lonely." Lu Qingqing let out a sudden giggle. Dabbing the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief, she said, "Remember your promise, 1 letter every day." I hesitated. It was meant as a joke. But she took it seriously, yet Lu Qingqing stared at me stubbornly, clearly refusing to board unless I agreed. I had no choice but to nod, satisfied. Lu Qingqing finally let her maid assist her into the carriage. After seeing off Lu Qingqing's family, I led my horse back to town. 16. Just as I approached the city gates, a man suddenly appeared and knocked me unconscious. When I came to, I found myself lying in a side chamber, my clothes torn open, with dark bruises forming on my neck. And standing before me was Qin Yuan. My heart skipped a beat the moment I laid eyes on him. Without a second thought about what had happened, I immediately shrank into the corner of the bed, eyeing Qin Yuan warily. Young Master Qin, what is the meaning of this? Qin Yuan flashed a roguish grin. Miss Shen, long time no see. I've missed you terribly these past days. And you, have you missed me? With that, he lunged forward. I yanked the bed curtain to block his view and pulled out the hairpin from my hair. Leaping down in one swift motion, I drove the silver hairpin into Qin Yuan's neck. Qin Yuan let out a muffled groan and collapsed onto the bed in pain. I seized the chance to slip out of the chamber. I planned to take back Ali's home, gather my valuables and go into hiding. Having injured Qin Yuan, the Qin family would never let this slide. But as I walked, it dawned on me I could hide. But what about Aunt Chiu and the girls still doing their hair? Then it struck me, this life of mine was never meant to be. What if heavens arranged this calamity now because my borrowed time's up? Maybe today's the day I'm supposed to die, after being reborn. If I still cower when pushed around, what's the damn point? Hell, I might just resurrect again if I die here. With that thought, I gritted my teeth and swerved back onto the main road. Even if I die, I'll die with my eyes wide open. I deliberately walked through crowded streets to let people see me clearly. 17. Several noblewomen who'd visited Wandering Silks before spotted me on the road, looking shocked and offering help. I shook my head each time and quickly walked away, and just like that, I made a grand return to Silken Strands. Xiaomi, who was minding the shop and doing accounts, looked utterly terrified at the sight of me. Shopkeeper, you, I cut her off hoarsely, gather everyone immediately. Now, Xiaomi was still dazed, but instinctively obeyed when given the order. Soon enough, everyone working in the inner courtyard came out. Everyone was shocked by my appearance, especially Aunt Chiu. Trembling, she hugged me and asked, Xichuan, what happened to you? I knew she was worried about me, but time was running out. Pushing her aside, I warned them all. I've offended the magistrate, there's no escaping death now. Those who can flee must go at once. Aunt Chiu shrieked. I won't leave. Ignoring Aunt Chiu, I told the other girls to gather their belongings. I pulled Xiaomi aside to give her instructions. Xiaomi was the strongest among them, so I wanted her to tie up Aunt Chiu and take her away, but Xiaomi refused. With tears welling in her eyes, the resolute girl said, Boss, I won't leave. Nobody wanted me before. You were the only one who took me in. I wouldn't survive out there anyway. I'll stay with you. If we die together. I wanted to reason with her, but before I could speak, all the girls in the shop gathered around. Miss, I'm not leaving either. Boss, we're with you. Boss, we can't live without you. Aunt Chiu reached out and hugged me again. Xichuan, dear child, we're here for you. I stared blankly at them, those faces, some youthful and some weathered, all etched with desperate determination. Words caught in my throat, choking me silent. I swallowed hard before speaking. Good. Bring paper and ink. We'll fight them to the bitter end. With bold strokes, I wrote these lines. 18. I, Shin Jichuan, attest that Qin Yuan, the magistrate's son, attempted to violate me. In self-defense, I wounded him and fled. Though I know death is inevitable, I refuse to perish in silence. Therefore, I expose Qin Yuan's crimes to the world before my end, praying some righteous soul may one day avenge me. To make this indictment more shocking, I had Xiaomi slaughter a chicken in the backyard. Using its blood as ink for my brush, once written, I immediately ordered Xiaomi to post it by the Wanqingxi gate. Then I shut the door, letting passers-by stare as they pleased. The moment the door closed, I went limp and collapsed into Aunt Chiu's arms. Aunt Chiu gathered me in her arms and sat down. The other Wanging members stood or sat around us in a loose circle. The crowd outside kept growing larger. We listened quietly to the murmurs from outside. Couldn't tell whether they were cursing Qin Yuan or me. I thought the Qin family would send someone to arrest me within the hour, but in reality, we waited over 2 hours before someone finally knocked. Knock, knock, knock. The visitor rapped 3 times, but I paid no attention. I was waiting for them to break the door down. The person outside didn't break in, but kept knocking instead. After 3 more knocks, a voice I knew all too well came from beyond the door. Xichuan, it's me. The moment I heard that voice, tears began streaming down my face. It's He Yanting, he's here. Aunt Chiu looked at me with concern. That person outside, 19, the voice snapped me out of my tangled thoughts. I wiped my tears and straightened my clothes slightly. When she felt ready, she instructed Xiaomi to open the door. Xiaomi marched forward with grim determination. As the door planks were removed one by one, the crowd finally saw the gentleman outside. I overheard young girls whispering behind me. What a handsome gentleman. Xiaomi stood frozen in place, feeling inexplicably embarrassed. I had to call Xiaomi's name several times before she snapped out of it, apparently ashamed too. Xiaomi scurried back and hid behind me. Releasing Aunt Chiu's hand, I straightened my posture and walked up to He Yanting. Cousin, He Yan, you're here. In my past life, I married into the He family and spent decades as He Yanting's kin. Calling myself his relative this time around isn't too presumptuous, is it? He Yanting didn't correct my form of address, merely acknowledging with a quiet hum. He studied me carefully, as if assessing how much I'd suffered. I felt awkward under everyone's gaze. To dispel the strange atmosphere, I asked again, Cousin, did you come after receiving my letter? He Yanting finally lifted his eyelids. What letter? Since you didn't receive the letter, I assume you're here for other reasons. 20. I didn't question why he never got the letter. Just briefly mentioned I'd once sent him a distress letter. I told him about my current troubles, hoping he could lend a hand. After hearing my explanation, he neither agreed nor refused to help, but first instructed me to retrieve the blood-written petition at the entrance. Qin Yuan's life isn't worth tarnishing your reputation for. Knowing he wouldn't say such words lightly, I immediately ordered Xiaomi to take down and safeguard the blood petition. Then I invited He Yanting to be seated in the second-floor chamber. Only when we were alone did He Yanting reveal the purpose of his visit. 3 months ago, someone submitted a memorial to His Majesty accusing Qin Yuhai, the prefect of Shuzhou, of dozens of crimes including bribery, land seizure, and abduction of women. The emperor was furious upon reading it and specifically dispatched me to investigate. I was surprised. While I knew the Qin family was involved in abducting women, I hadn't noticed any signs of their other alleged crimes. Is this true? He Yanting nodded with conviction. It's true, he was certain. This matter must have been backed by irrefutable evidence in his past life. I breathed a sigh of relief. With He Yanting here this time, even if we couldn't completely crush the Qin family, we could at least uproot their influence from Shuzhou. He Yanting seemed to read my thoughts. Qin Yuan, I won't let him reach the capital alive. I smiled gratefully and said, Thank you. The emperor alone decides Qin Yuan's punishment. My only concern is His Majesty might show leniency to the Qin family out of consideration for the crown prince. With He Yanting's guarantee, I'm slightly safer now. He Yanting added, during our stay in Shuzhou, I'll introduce you as a distant relative. Feel free to keep running your shop if you wish. My eyes lit up. What a lifesaver. I was worried Qin Yuan's slander would make Shuzhou's ladies avoid our shop. Now that I'm a capital official's relative, they'd trip over themselves to please me. Wang Qingxi shouldn't suffer much fallout from this. I couldn't help praising him. Cousin, having found such an enlightened patron earlier in this life, your official career will surely flourish even more than before. He Yanting rarely smiled. You're doing well too. You managed the He family affairs meticulously back then. Running a small shop now must be child's play for you. I found myself momentarily stunned by his rare, fleeting smile. In our past lives, He Yanting seldom smiled, whether in my presence or Madame Lin's. He always wore that aloof expression. I once asked Madame He if he'd always been like this. Madame He shook her head sorrowfully and said, Yanting used to smile often, but ever since his father became obsessed with gambling, the light left his eyes. He buried himself in books day and night, just to support this family sooner. It's me. I failed him. Madame He was overthinking again, and it took all my coaxing and comforting to finally bring a smile through her tears. Given a second chance, He Yanting now has Madame Lin by his side and a boundless future ahead. No need to scramble for survival like his past life. Life must feel lighter this time around. No wonder he smiles more often now. I flashed He Yanting a bright smile. All thanks to your guidance before. At 14, I was naive and clueless. The loss of my parents left me utterly terrified, forcing me to seek refuge with the He family. It was He Yanting who patiently molded me into someone resilient. I'll always be grateful to him. After exchanging pleasantries, He Yanting took his leave. Before leaving, I asked Aunt Chiu to pack some wooden hairpins in a wooden box for me. I handed the box to He Yanting. For Madame Lin, I remember she used to fancy these wooden hairpins, though he never mentioned whether he's married in this life. knowing his character, I'm certain he wouldn't let Madame Lin repeat her past misfortunes. He Yanting accepted it without hesitation. I'll bring Madame Lin to visit you another day. When He Yanting returned to the post house, Lin Mingyi was waiting in the main hall and came forward to greet him. I nodded with a smile. 21, my lord, where have you been? Why are you only returning now? He Yanting placed the wooden box given by Shen Jichuan on the table. Lin Mingyi barely glanced at the box, more concerned about where He Yanting had been that day, and pressed him further. He Yanting poured himself a cup of tea, taking a sip to moisten his throat. Setting down the teacup, he began his interrogation. Madame Lin, did you hide my letter? Lin Mingyi looked up with slight panic, though she initially intended to tell the truth. Seeing He Yanting's stern expression made her stubbornly feign ignorance. My lord, what letter do you mean? Have you lost correspondence? He Yanting could tell she was lying at a glance. Without arguing, he simply picked up the wooden box and turned to leave. Lin Mingyi panicked for real this time, clutching at He Yanting's sleeve to stop him. But He Yanting methodically pried her fingers loose, one by one. My lord, Lin Mingyi finally confessed in desperation, I did hide the letter, but only because I feared she'd come pestering you again. He Yanting showed no mercy, continuing to pry her fingers apart. She needed to genuinely understand her mistake. He'd been far too indulgent with her these past years. In the end, He Yanting left with the wooden box, spending that night in his study. In the dead of night, Lin Mingyi crept into He Yanting's bed, nestling into his arms and sensing his wakefulness. She reached to untie his robe. This had always been her go-to tactic when seeking forgiveness, but this time, He Yanting remained unmoved. She was right, he did treat Shen Jichuan differently. Fuming, she gave him a shove. When he still didn't budge, she lay there crying in distress. After her sobs continued for a while, He Yanting couldn't take it anymore. He sighed inwardly. Fine, considering how she'd endured hardship with me for over a decade in our past life. He Yanting gathered the sobbing Lin Mingyi into his arms as she curled into herself. There now, don't cry, you must never do this again. Shen Jichuan is our benefactor. We were betrothed since childhood. When she was orphaned, it was my duty to protect her, yet knowing our true love, she chose to bless our union, not only dissolving our engagement, but gifting us 3,000 taels of silver. These banknotes not only helped the He family weather the storm, but also allowed me to gather sufficient bride price to marry you. Without her, we wouldn't be where we are today. Please stop being suspicious of her. Lin Mingyi nodded obediently, though He Yanting had told her these very words years ago, yet she still feared. Perhaps He Yanting himself didn't realize how his expression always changed whenever Shen Jichuan's name was mentioned. He Yanting held Lin Mingyi in his arms, yet his thoughts lingered on Shen Jichuan. 22. The realization of being reborn filled him with exhilaration. Countless possibilities lay before him, things he could do, things he yearned to do. Only Shen Jichuan remained an enigma he couldn't unravel. Shen Jichuan was only 14 when she married him. He was already 19 then, 5 years her senior, and saw her as nothing more than a child. The terrified girl offered him everything she had in desperate plea for protection. He couldn't bring himself to refuse. In his past life, he abandoned his childhood sweetheart Lin Mingyi for Shen Jichuan's sake. Later, Lin Mingyi became his concubine. Though it saved her life, she endured a lifetime of humiliation. This time, he wouldn't let her suffer such indignity. But when Shen Jichuan came to him with hopeful eyes, how could he refuse? He pondered long, yet no proper solution came to mind. On the very day he returned from the fourth prince's residence, a letter from Yuzhou arrived for him. Shen Jichuan declared she wished to break off the engagement. Staring at those few lines of text, at those 3 banknotes, he realized Shen Jichuan had also returned from the future. Just like him, a wave of relief washed over him. He wouldn't have to choose between them anymore. Yet deep down, a tinge of regret and guilt began to surface. He wrote back to Shen Jichuan, revealing his own rebirth and offering his help if needed. He then handed 2,000 tael silver notes to his mother, using the remaining 1,000 taels to prepare betrothal gifts for the Lin family. For years afterward, there was no word of Shen Jichuan. He next caught wind of her whereabouts when he spotted a wooden hairpin adorning Madame Lin's coiffure. The hairpin bore uncanny resemblance to the one Shen Jichuan often wore. He complimented Madame Lin on her exquisite wooden hairpin. Delighted, Madame Lin explained its origin. The jeweler said it was crafted by artisans from Suzhou. Such craftsmanship is rare even in the capital. Ah, Suzhou, truly a remarkable place. He recalled Shen Jichuan's past ambition to open a shop, choosing Suzhou as the location was truly brilliant. The corruption case involving Shuzhou's prefect was essentially a power struggle between the crown prince and the second prince. As an ostensibly neutral party, He Yanting should have stayed clear of this messy affair, yet the moment he heard it involved Shuzhou, he volunteered without hesitation. Thank goodness he showed up. After getting He Yanting's assurance, I reopened the shop with peace of mind. 23. But business wasn't what it used to be. I could understand why, after all, I'd crossed the Qin family, though the imperial court sent an inspector to investigate Prefect Qin. Outsiders remained skeptical of He Yanting's ability to uncover the truth. They feared the Qin family's lingering influence. A centipede dies but never falls down. Patronizing Wang Qingxi would mean crossing the Qins, so naturally they stayed away. I didn't dwell on it. Business has its ups and downs. After all, calmly spreading paper to write, I kept my promise to Lu Qingqing. My word is my bond. Don't fuss over whether it's one letter per day. I'll write several while the shop's quiet, so I won't have to squeeze in letter writing when things get busy. This idle stretch lasted several months. Wages kept coming, hairpins kept being made. Aunt Chiu, concerned about my finances, came over to advise me, if the shop isn't making money, don't feel obliged to pay us wages. We know how hard you work for every penny. I reassured her, money's not an issue. I opened this place more for something to do than for profit, since you're spending your time keeping me company. It's only right you get paid. My explanation left Aunt Chiu utterly dumbfounded. From that day on, she never again suggested I tighten my purse strings. 3 months later, the once deserted silken tresses salon suddenly became the talk of the town. 24. These ladies would always exchange pleasantries with me, never failing to praise He Yanting as a remarkably accomplished young man. That's when I knew He Yanting had triumphed, and the Qin family had fallen. I was so delighted that I gifted every visitor a hairpin, whether they made a purchase or not. Consider it my gratitude for bringing me the news. The next day, He Yanting brought Madame Lin to bid me farewell. He was to escort the Qin family and other involved parties back to the capital the following day. I treated them to a meal at the Gathering of Worthies restaurant. Before their departure, I presented them with a chest of silver. Cousin, you know me. I may not have much, but silver I've got to spare. Don't hesitate to ask if you ever need anything. You and Auntie are all the family I have left now. Let's watch out for each other. He Yanting didn't refuse. In the capital, having ample funds certainly made things easier, but he also made his promise clear. We're family. Looking out for each other goes without saying. Send word if you ever need help. Those lost letters were just careless servants doing. It won't happen again. I nodded. Good that it's all cleared up. After He Yanting and the Lins left, I stayed in Shuzhou for a few more years. 25. Business at Wanqingxi has slowed down these past 2 years. After some thought, I figured it's probably due to the lack of new designs, so I wrote to Lu Qingqing, asking if she'd like to invest by contributing her patterns. Lu Qingqing was stuck in postpartum confinement again, bored out of her mind, so she happily agreed. We had a blast exchanging letters back and forth, but we got tired of it after just a month. All the letters I'd saved up during idle moments had long been sent out. That day I was agonizing over a letter, trying to ask Lu Qingqing if we could ease the requirement, maybe change from writing daily letters to just twice a month. I was racking my brains over how to phrase it without making Lu Qingqing furious. I didn't even notice the tall young man standing at the door. Excuse me, does the owner of this place go by the surname Shen? I looked up in surprise to see a burly young man standing before me. The guy had a simple, unremarkable face and couldn't have been more than 20. Something about him seemed familiar, so I asked who he was looking for. He said, "My name is Jiang Shihu. I'm here to find my mother." Jiang Shihu, that name rings a bell. Suddenly Aunt Chiu came running from the backyard, shouting, "Niu Niu, ah yes, now I remember. Jiang Shihu was the name the future emperor gave Jiang Niu Niu. But according to the timeline from my past life, he shouldn't come looking for us for a few more years. Our rebirth must have drawn the fourth prince's attention to He Yanting earlier than expected." Jiang Shihu fidgeted before saying to his mother, "Ma, I've changed my name, it's Jiang Shihu now." Aunt Chiu was admiring his tall, sturdy frame when she suddenly swatted him. "You'll always be my son, no matter what name you pick." Jiang Shihu didn't argue. Just rubbed the spot where she'd hit him with a sheepish grin. Aunt Chiu asked me to close up shop so we could all catch up properly today. I waved her off. "Take the day off and go chat with your son, we can't handle your nagging." After all these years of spoiling her, Aunt Chiu's developed quite a temper. She actually shot me an indignant glare. "Fine, fine, Shichuan's clearly tired of this old woman." With that, She took her son by the hand and left. After they'd gone, I set aside the letter meant for Lu Qingqing. Then I wrote another letter addressed to He Yanting. I wasn't sure how much He Yanting knew about Jiang Shihu's situation. We promised to watch each other's backs, so I shouldn't keep things from him unless absolutely necessary. I planned to tell him about Aunt Qiu's connection to Jiang Shihu, though Jiang Shihu's current rise might have been aided by He Yanting's influence, but with Aunt Qiu and my personal ties, he'll likely trust Jiang Shihu more, which would actually benefit Jiang's political career. Jiang Shihu told us he was just a foot soldier in Longnan at first. 26. By chance, a general took a liking to him and made him a personal guard. Later, he was promoted to centurion for protecting his commander in battle. With no conflicts in Longnan now, he's been granted a month's leave, but he could only stay in Shuzhou for half a month before heading to the capital to meet with an important official. He didn't specify who he was meeting, likely confidential, so we didn't press further. I'd originally planned to let Aunt Qiu rest properly during Jiang Shihu's stay. To my surprise, I discovered Jiang Shihu actually had woodcarving skills. I roped him into helping me carve large decorative pieces, things like wooden lions and toy horses that kids would love. I had him make over a dozen pieces, and he never complained. Such a good sport. Aunt Qiu was upset at first, but eventually stopped saying anything, watching Jiang Shihu work for me with pure delight. Thanks to Jiang Shihu that month, Wanqingxi's revenue more than doubled. Later, I even sent a few wooden chairs and rocking horses to Lu Qingqing, so when Jiang Shihu was about to leave, apart from Aunt Qiu, I was reluctant to see him go too, but I didn't let it show. I merely funded a few presentable outfits for his social engagements. I also hired a carriage to ease his journey back to the capital. After Jiang Shihu's departure, Wanqingxi became noticeably quieter. 27. Aunt Qiu would often sigh by my ear. Ji-chun, my son's not getting any younger, and he's no looker either. Do you think any girl would fancy him? I truly fear he'll end up alone. Personally, I see nothing wrong with staying single, but I knew Aunt Qiu wouldn't want to hear that, so I tried comforting her, saying once Nyo becomes a general, women would be lining up to marry him. Yet it occurred to me that he would indeed end up alone, without even a wife or concubine by his side. The words stuck in my throat. I could only muster a wooden reply. Every generation must find its own fortune. Aunt Qiu frowned in disapproval and confusion. Jichuan, you're the same age as my son, why do you always sound like some world-weary elder? I blurted out nonsense. Well, I've always been precocious. I told you we should have been like sisters. You're autumn, I'm spring. A perfect match. You're the one who refused. Aunt Qiu stormed off in a huff. For the next few years, Jiang Shihu returned to Shuzhou every 6 months. 28. Each time he'd hover around doing chores for me, making Aunt Qiu visibly jealous. Hands on her hips, she scolded Jiang Shihu. So my son was born just for her benefit. Jiang Shihu grinned sheepishly while I chuckled. Might as well take this free advantage. On my third visit to Shuzhou, Jiang Shihu asked if I'd marry him. I said no. He just scratched his head and went back to working for me. When he came asking for the 4th time, I still refused. He just buried himself in work again. The 5th time, he came to say goodbye. With a long face, he told me, you might not get to marry anyone now. The emperor is sending me to Jingzhou. By then, the new emperor had already ascended the throne. The outcome remained unchanged from the previous life. It was still the 4th prince who ultimately ascended the throne. The only difference was that He Yanting secured a prominent position among the ministers who had contributed to the imperial succession. Even Jiang Shihu's fortunes soared alongside this political shift. With Jingzhou's defense being strategically vital, the emperor's assignment clearly signaled his intention to promote him. What's worse than the long journey to Jingzhou is the constant raids by the Bada people across the border, which demands our commander's unwavering vigilance. We'll be seeing much less of him from now on. My heart skipped a beat when I heard he was heading to Jingzhou. Being unmarried in my 20s, I keep getting unwanted attention from tactless suitors. I'm not one to shy away from trouble, but constant drama wears me down. What's more, many in Shuzhou already suspect Jiang Shihu is my fiancé serving in the Longnan army. Our long-delayed marriage is truly peculiar. I've wrestled with this endlessly, yet still can't convince myself. Jiang Shihu's eyes were red as he bid me farewell. I don't know when I'll return from this journey. If you meet someone you love, marry them without hesitation. Should they ever mistreat you, I'll defy the emperor's orders to come back for you. In a surge of emotion, I told him, then let's get married. I won't wed another. I'll wait for you. Exactly. He'll be stationed in Jingzhou anyway. As long as I don't follow him there, he won't be in my way. and so it was settled between us. Our wedding banquet was a grand affair. 29. I wanted the whole of Shuzhou to know I've married none other than the general. A word to the wise, think twice before making any ill-intentioned moves. This tactic proved remarkably effective. After that, no one ever came courting me with sweet nothings again. I'd assumed married life would continue just as uneventfully as before. Little did I know, 2 months after Jiang Shihu left, I discovered I was with child. Aunt Qiu kept murmuring prayers of gratitude for not heeding my advice to join the army camp in Jingzhou to care for her son. Having no children in my past life, I cherished this pregnancy dearly. After 9 months of cautious anticipation, my eldest daughter Jiang Ling came into the world with her first cries. Jiang Shihu remained in Jingzhou for over a decade. He did return a few times during those years. By the time he first returned, Linger was already 6 years old. Since he had to report to the capital first, I worried the round trip would eat up all his leave, so I took Linger and Aunt Qiu to the capital instead. We thought it'd be nice for the whole family to reunite there. When the emperor granted Jiang Shihu a month's leave, we ended up staying in the capital for that entire period. We paid visits to both the Lu family and later the He household. Jiang Shihu remained the only military officer with decent reputation among civil officials. Thanks to He Yanting's diplomatic mediation, it was only proper that I accompanied him on these visits. A month later, Jiang Shihu returned to Jingzhou, so I took Aunt Qiu and our daughter back to Shuzhou. Shortly after returning, I discovered I was pregnant again. For over a decade after our marriage, we lived separately in different cities. 30. It wasn't until our youngest son turned 8 that the emperor finally issued an edict recalling Jiang Shihu to the capital for an official post. Aunt Qiu praised the emperor's decree wholeheartedly, saying Linger had just turned 14, the perfect age for marriage arrangements. With a father like him, Linger was bound to find an ideal husband. Blushing crimson at these words, Linger immediately fled the scene, yet that very night, she secretly slipped into my chamber. With a mix of nervousness and shyness, she asked me, "Mother, may I marry Brother Buqian?" I was startled, completely baffled by her affection for He Buqian. He Buqian, the eldest son of He Yanting and Lin Mingyi, was already 18 yet remained unmarried. He'd just passed the provincial imperial exams this year and was awaiting official appointment from the court. We've been living in Shuzhou all along, only making the trip to the capital once every few years. No idea how Linger took a liking to him. I didn't scold her, just gently asked why she wanted to marry He Buqian. Seeing I never reproached her, Linger finally confessed she'd been exchanging letters with He Buqian these past years. I'm genuinely worried now, afraid she might have done something foolish and given others leverage. I urgently asked her to bring me the letters to examine. Linger didn't refuse. Going through them one by one, I found no improper conduct between them, not even their names were written. I still wanted to reason with her. Linger, though Qian is a decent man, his mother is truly difficult to get along with. I let out a sigh of relief. Jiang Ling knew I disapproved. Before I could even finish speaking, she ran off in tears. I will marry him, I will. I was utterly distressed. Because of this, Linger gave me the silent treatment for a whole month. 31. Aunt Qiu kept nagging me. If she wants to marry him, let her. Shihu is coming back soon. The He family has always been close with ours, and old Madam He adores Linger. Are you really worried she'll be mistreated there? They couldn't understand why I objected. Over the years, we visited the He residence several times. Though Lin Mingyi put on a polite front, I could clearly see she wasn't welcoming our visits. She dislikes me because of my past with He Yanting, and looks down on Jiang Shihu as a lowborn brute. How could she ever accept Linger as her daughter-in-law? Even if forced to agree, a mother-in-law has countless ways to torment her daughter-in-law. Simply filling her son's chambers with concubines would leave the bride speechless with misery. Lin Mingyi had pulled this stunt in her past life, back when she wasn't even the proper mother-in-law yet, let alone now. I tried reasoning with Linger, but she snapped at me, convinced He Buqian would always take her side and protect her. The more I pressed, the more she refused to eat. In the end, I gave up trying to persuade her and just said we'd wait until her father returned. When Jiang Shihu came back to pick us up, I told him about the situation. He remained quite optimistic and advised me not to worry too much. Linger has a mind of her own. Don't fret about her being mistreated by the He family. We're still here for her, aren't we? She's not the type to swallow her pride. If she's wronged, she'll surely come back for justice. If you refuse her now, you'll turn mother and daughter into enemies. Won't you regret that? Hearing this, I could only sigh in resignation. The next day, I summoned Linger and told her I agreed to her request. Once we return to the capital, I'll take you to the He family to sound out about He Buqian's marriage prospects. If they're amenable, I'll swallow my pride and propose the match for you. Linger had been pouting with a stern face, but upon hearing my words, she leaped onto me joyfully. Mom, thank you. You're the best. Holding her in my arms, I sighed inwardly. I've truly raised her too wild. I wonder if He Yanting will accept such a daughter-in-law. In May, our entire family relocated to the capital. 32. The first few days saw a constant stream of visitors. When we finally had a moment's peace, Linger urged me to visit the He residence, Jiangshi, and I then escorted Linger and Ear there. Old Madam He was delighted to see me, holding my hand with visible emotion. Back when you lived in Suzhou, we were so far apart we'd only meet every few years. Now that you've moved to the capital, you must visit this old woman often. I naturally nodded in agreement. After chatting for about 15 minutes, He Yanting arrived with his 2 sons. In my past life, He Yanting should have had 3 sons. My favorite granddaughter was actually the 3rd son's child. There are only 2 left now, and I can't figure out what went wrong. After exchanging courtesies, the younger generation from both families stood beside their respective parents. While conversing with old Madam He and Lin Mingyi, I unexpectedly caught He Buqian and Linger exchanging flirtatious glances. Worried Linger might offend someone, I quickly cleared my throat as a subtle warning. Too late, Lin Mingyi had clearly already seen it. She complimented Linger, "You're blossoming into such a beauty. You used to resemble your mother, but now that you're grown, your features take after your father's. Truly a general's daughter." That was actually a backhanded insult about Linger's looks. The silly girl completely missed the sarcasm, thinking Lin Mingyi had praised her, and kept shooting me meaningful glances. Suppressing my irritation, I managed to compliment both He family sons. Lin Mingyi seized the moment to bring up He Buqian's marriage prospects. The Minister of Justice Xiao Zongji has a daughter, just 16 years of age, the epitome of grace and gentleness. I'm quite taken with her. Madam Jiang, since you're acquainted with their household, might I trouble you to act as matchmaker? Everyone in the room visibly paled. Linger turned deathly pale, looking at me with pleading eyes. After what she just said, how could I possibly rush into proposing? I couldn't even pretend anymore. I outright rejected Lin Mingyi, then made some excuse and took my leave. Didn't even spare He Yanting the courtesy. Back home, Linger locked herself in the room crying again. When Jiang Shihu and Aunt Chiu tried to console her, I stopped them. Let her cry all she wants, but me approving her marriage into the He family, over my dead body. Before I could even calm my anger, Lin Mingyi showed up at my doorstep the very next day. That day, Deputy General Jiang Shihu's wife, Madame Sun, came for a visit. 33. Madame Sun had such a delightful way with words that Linger took an instant liking to her. I made a point of calling Linger over to keep her company. Lady Sun had just managed to coax a smile from Linger when a maid announced Lin Mingyi's arrival. After yesterday's unpleasantness, I couldn't fathom her purpose in visiting today. Not wishing to embarrass myself before Lady Sun, I suggested Linger accompany her for a stroll in the garden, when Lin Mingyi stormed in with such fury. I was profoundly relieved neither Lady Sun nor Linger were present. Lin Mingyi came here just to pick a fight. She pointed at my face and yelled, "Madam Jiang, what cunning tricks you played to make my son swear he'll marry no one but your daughter, at such a tender age. She's already learned your seductive wiles. Insult me all you want, but crossing the line with my daughter is unacceptable. Let me ask you this, my daughter just turned 14, naive and innocent, while your son is already 19, shouldn't he know better? Why is he writing love poems to her? Or is this another lesson from He Yanting?" Lin Mingyi pointed a trembling finger at me. "Lies. Channer knows propriety best. It must be your daughter who seduced him. What status does the He family hold, and what is she? A mere martial officer's daughter. How dare she set her sights on my son? I suggest you discipline your daughter properly, or I'll do it for you. Don't think His Majesty recalled you to the capital because he values you. Every minister at court is laughing at your peasant family's delusions of grandeur. The rift between civil and military officials at court has grown so severe that even His Majesty struggles to mediate between both factions. How dare this woman barge into a general's household to insult his family? Utterly foolish. I've no patience left to argue with this unreasonable fool. She's giving me a splitting headache." I was just about to have the maid show her out. Linger arrived, though no one knew how long she'd been standing outside listening. With red-rimmed eyes, she stepped forward to shield me. "My father served this nation for decades. Even the emperor acknowledges his sacrifices. How dare you mock us? and what's so special about your son anyway? I never liked him. Go tell him I'm calling off the marriage. For good, Lin Mingyi sneered contemptuously. No surprise a brute's bastard daughter would stoop so low, thinking you could seduce men like others do. Only my kind-hearted son would fall for your tricks. Linger burst into angry tears. You're the brute. How dare you barge in and humiliate us in our own home today? I sighed, pulling Linger protectively into my arms as I motioned the maid to escort our guest out. But Lin Mingyi wasn't done, shoving the maid aside. She kept hurling insults at me. Xin Jichuan, I know you resent marrying a mere military officer, hence your desperation to marry your daughter into nobility, but know your place. Someone like you only deserves such lowly matches. I regarded her wearily. Lin Mingyi, does he Yanting know you're here today? My voice was drowned out by a booming interruption. How dare some shrew look down on military officers? Lady Sun stormed in with formidable presence. 34. She jabbed a finger at Lin Mingyi's face and snarled. What rock did you crawl out from under? How dare you look down on military officers? Where were you when our husbands were fighting on the front lines? You parasites feeding off the people's labor have the audacity to strut about. Why don't you try strutting on a battlefield? Lady Sun's overwhelming fury drained all color from Lin Mingyi's face. She wasn't the only one, even Linger and I were startled. Mrs. Sun was tall and sturdy. I was terrified she might actually hit Lin Mingyi in her rage. I rushed over to pull her back. Whoa there, Mrs. Sun, calm down, you can't hit people, that'd make this our fault. Mrs. Sun whispered to me, I won't, just giving her a scare. Then she immediately loomed over Lin Mingyi again. Spit it out, who put you up to this? Was it your lord he badmouthing us at home until you got ideas? Madame Sun kept advancing, forcing Lin Mingyi to retreat step by step. Worried she might say something rash under pressure and implicate he Yanting, I urged her to leave. Madam Lin, our humble abode is too small for someone of your stature, please take your leave. Clearly frightened, Lin Mingyi scurried away in haste. With perfect composure, Madame Sun resumed her dignified demeanor the moment Lin departed. She tenderly pulled Linger close and wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Poor dear, such a well-behaved child shouldn't be scolded like this. Sweet Linger, she may not appreciate you, but you're my favorite. I have 2 unmarried sons. The elder is 18, tall, strapping, and currently serves in the Imperial Guards. My second son is 16, gentle and scholarly, still pursuing his studies. You've met them all now. Just tell Auntie whom you fancy, and I'll arrange the marriage proposal for him. If you'd only consent to marry into our family, I'd treat you like royalty. No, better than royalty. Linger had been deeply moved. But Madame Sun's final words left her utterly dumbstruck. She looked at me pleadingly. I quickly mediated. Madam Sun, let's not discuss this in front of the child, we'll talk privately. Seeing Linger wasn't as upset anymore, Madam Sun stopped teasing her. She held Linger in her arms, showering her with compliments until tears welled up in the girl's eyes before finally releasing her. I'm truly grateful for everything Madam Sun has done. I'll discuss with Jiang Shihu tonight whether her 2 sons would make suitable matches. After some consideration, Jiang Shihu nodded in agreement. Old Sun's an upright man, and both his lads are fine young gentlemen. Relieved, I decided to take Linger to the Sun residence in a few days to see which son she might fancy. As for Lin Mingyi's dramatic scene today, both Linger and I silently agreed not to mention it to Jiang Shihu. I thought the matter with the He family was settled. Little did I know, by the next day the whole city had heard about Lin Mingyi's scene at the Jiang residence. This confrontation even became the spark that ignited the conflict between civil and military officials at court. He Yanting only learned about Lin's outburst at the Jiang residence during court proceedings. 35. Several military officers were giving him sarcastic taunts at that moment. They mocked him for marrying such a wonderful wife. He Yanting sensed Mrs. Lin must have done something, so he pretended ignorance to brush it off temporarily, planning to confront her at home. But one officer named Sun kept harassing him with insults. The emperor was equally baffled, so he ordered him to explain the whole affair. Only then did I learn that Lin Mingyi had gone to the Jiang residence yesterday and berated both Jichuan and her daughter. Madame Sun happened to witness the entire incident. I gave Jiang Shihu an apologetic look. He appeared equally startled, clearly having just learned of this himself. Sun Wu perfectly mimicked how the Lin family looked down upon military officers, thoroughly provoking the entire martial faction at court. The military officers cursed so foully that even other civil officials got dragged into their insults. Before long, the entire court erupted into a shouting match among these men. The emperor, plagued by the racket, demanded whether he and Jiang Shihu were truly involved in the matter. Jiang Shihu remained silent during the minister's uproar, only speaking when the emperor inquired. This humble official knows not. Neither my wife nor daughter mentioned anything yesterday, though I did notice their troubled expressions. Jiang Shihu had always been on good terms with He Yanting. The fact that he spoke this way showed he was genuinely angered. He Yanting likewise pleaded ignorance. The emperor then ordered him to interrogate Lady Lin upon returning, lest he be wrongfully accused. General Sun Wu was about to speak further when the emperor wearily declared the court adjourned. He Yanting hurriedly returned home. Madame Lin must have already heard the news at home, for she immediately knelt when she saw He Yanting. "My lord, this wasn't my fault." Shen Jichuan spoke so rudely that I couldn't help retorting in anger. Watching her still trying to justify herself, He Yanting was utterly disappointed, unable to comprehend why the considerate woman from their past life had become like this in the present. "I won't punish you. After all, you're the mother of my son, but from now on, you're forbidden to go anywhere. Stay home and reflect on your mistakes," said with tender affection. "Your father would love to spend more time with our precious girl, but the fact that I've lasted until your coming-of-age ceremony is already by Buddha's grace." The emperor left it to Jiang Shihu to decide the punishment. Jiang Shihu countered that He Yanting was a pillar of the imperial court who shouldn't bear punishment for his wife's misdeeds. The emperor then asked He Yanting whether he would consent to divorcing his wife. He Yanting replied, "After all, Madame Lin is the mother of my child and has cared for my aging mother these many years. Even without merit, she's toiled dutifully. I cannot be so heartless as to cast her aside." Thereupon, the emperor revoked the noble title He Yanting had secured for Lin Mingyi, demoted him, and reassigned him to a provincial post. He Yanting dared not voice the slightest complaint, prostrating himself in gratitude for the imperial grace. Before leaving the capital, He Yanting sent word requesting to meet me. 36. I had a fair idea what he wanted to say, but our years of friendship made it impossible to let him depart without this farewell. After informing Jiang Shihu, I arranged to meet him at a discreet tea house. The moment he saw me, he bowed deeply in apology. "Jichuan, I've wronged you. It's my failure in guiding the Lin family properly. Let me make amends to you and your niece on her behalf." When I tried to help him up, he sternly stopped me. I could only watch as he performed 3 solemn bows before rising. I reassured him, "This is Madame Lin's failing. Look how well you raised me in our past life. You shouldn't blame yourself so harshly. Even my husband agrees the fault isn't yours. You understand His Majesty's reasons for transferring you from the capital better than I do. I'm certain you'll be recalled within a few years." He Yanting shook his head with a sigh. "I always believed if you could achieve it, Madame Lin surely could as well. I misjudged her character and granted her too much authority, feeding her boundless ambition. Jichuan, from now on, don't trouble yourself with me. I can no longer be of any help to you." I shook my head. "When I say I consider you family, I mean it. I won't disown my own brother because of my sister-in-law's mistakes. Cousin, the road ahead is long. Take good care of yourself. I'll await your return in the capital." For the first time in ages, a rare smile finally reappeared on He Yanting's face. "Very well." Story 2. On the day Pei Ling made it onto the rich list, Su Lai smashed every bowl in the house. He choked my neck fiercely. His face twisted. "If it weren't for you back then, Pei Ling's position today should have been mine. You've ruined my entire life. Why don't you just die?" In the struggle, we both fell from the building. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in my student days. On the podium, the teacher was about to leave with a list of financially disadvantaged students. A figure quickly stepped forward. "Teacher, don't forget me." Seeing this, my eyes narrowed slightly. I'm not the only one who came back. Watching Su Lai run towards the teacher with the application form, I felt somewhat dazed. The sensation of falling from a great height hadn't completely faded yet. Su Lai turned around and glanced at me unintentionally. Meeting his gaze, I instinctively touched my neck. It felt as if invisible hands were still tightly choking my throat, wishing me dead immediately. Noticing my movement, Su Lai's eyes flickered. After class, as soon as I stood up, he silently grabbed my wrist and dragged me out. He didn't let go until the stairway corner. "You've come back too, haven't you?" Though it was a seemingly random remark, I understood its meaning. It seems my guess was right. He had been reborn too. In a previous life, the school was compiling a list of financially disadvantaged students. Su Lai's father passed away due to work-related reasons, leaving him to rely solely on his mother, although from a single-parent family. His father left behind a substantial compensation, ensuring they lived comfortably. So, when compiling the list, I advised Su Lai to withdraw, giving the opportunity to those more in need. He agreed. Only Pei Ling was reported. He is a left-behind child. His grandparents are elderly, in poor health, unable to work, and struggling to afford basic necessities. The school granted him financial aid and also arranged a work-study opportunity for him on campus, during his work at Pei Ling. He unexpectedly saved the young lady Tang Wan. Tang Wan was very grateful to him. Upon learning about his family's financial difficulties, she not only paid for his tuition but also covered medical expenses for his family. Pei Ling also proved himself remarkably, maintaining top grades, gaining admission to the most prestigious university, and after graduation, joining Tang Wan's family company where he demonstrated exceptional talent. Within just a few years, he rose to become the company's top executive. Later, he married Tang Wan, becoming the envy of everyone. Every success of Pei Ling was a heavy blow to Su Lai. He always had this phrase on his lips: if I hadn't given him the opportunity back then, would he be where he is today? Now that he's been given a second chance, he can finally change his own destiny. Faced with my silence, he already understood. After giving me a once-over, he sneered coldly, "He Meng. Let's not beat around the bush anymore. Since heaven has given me this chance to start over, it must be because it deemed my previous fate unjust and specially granted me this opportunity. Considering our years of acquaintance, as long as you don't cause trouble for me, I won't forget to reward you when I rise to power, but if you deliberately make things difficult for me." His eyes narrowed slightly, with a menacing glint leaking through the slits, exuding an icy chill. "You know, if I'm suffering, no one else gets to be happy either." The sensation of impending death washed over me again, like a mountain pressing down on my shoulders. Even breathing became difficult. Seeing my pale face, Su Lai knew his threat had taken effect, revealing a satisfied smile. "Enjoy your student days to the fullest. This time, I won't be joining you." He patted my shoulder and walked away. After he left, I gently touched the shoulder he had touched. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Wiped vigorously. 3. When Su Lai and Pei Ling were called to the office, I was helping the teacher record grades. The homeroom teacher looked at the two standing before her and couldn't help but sigh. "Su Lai, your family situation is decent. This scholarship amount isn't much, and it wouldn't make much difference for you. Why not let Pei Ling have it?" "His family." "Teacher, this isn't appropriate." Before the homeroom teacher could finish speaking, Su Lai interrupted. He glanced at Pei Ling beside him and snorted lightly. "This is a subsidy provided by the school, so it should be fair and just. My family's financial situation is decent, but I still meet the application criteria. Just because he's better at playing the victim than I am, does that mean all the benefits should go to him?" As soon as these words were spoken, the homeroom teacher's face darkened instantly. "What nonsense. Who's playing the victim? I'm just discussing this with you all. There's no room for negotiation here. I'll comply with whatever arrangements the school makes, but it's all right, teacher." Pei Ling, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up in a gentle and calm voice. "Su Lai is right. Everything should proceed according to rules and regulations. Since the evaluation results are out, this spot should rightfully be his. Then what about you? The cart will find its way around the hill when it gets there. There are always other solutions." Seeing his composed, polite demeanor without resentment, the homeroom teacher's face showed pity, followed by another sigh, waved his hand, signaling them to go back. After they left, the homeroom teacher was in a gloomy mood and chatted with me to pass the time. I never thought Su Lai would be so particular before. "What's going on this time? What's going on?" Of course it's because this is the hard-won opportunity he got to change his fate, a golden opportunity to get close to the young lady and turn my fortunes around. He wouldn't let go even if beaten to death. 4. Su Lai was assigned to work in the school cafeteria. At first, he was full of enthusiasm. He couldn't keep up the act after just 2 days, constantly complaining about backaches and leg cramps. Anyone unaware would think he'd been hauling cement at a construction site. The cafeteria staff also had many grievances against him: never working, just making empty complaints. Several fed-up colleagues jointly filed a complaint against him. The homeroom teacher was quite frustrated. "Su Lai, it was you who insisted on applying for this financial aid spot for disadvantaged students. You knew it required work-study participation. What exactly have you been doing?" Facing her anger, Su Lai appeared rather dismissive. "I'm already exhausted from studying every day. How could I possibly have energy left for work?" In that case, return the financial aid so we can give it to someone who can fulfill the responsibilities. Hearing this, Sulai immediately panicked and waved his hands repeatedly. No, I didn't say I couldn't do it. Can't I just complain a little? Alright, I'll do it properly. I won't let them complain about me again, okay? Seeing his attitude was relatively proper, the homeroom teacher reluctantly agreed. I wasn't aware of these matters. I was just so absorbed in solving problems that when I went to the cafeteria, there was almost no one left. Just as I sat down to eat, other cafeteria employees also brought their trays and sat not far from me, chatting while they ate. That new kid is really generous. He directly gave each of us a 500 yuan red envelope, just asking us not to complain about him anymore. With so much money, why did you even apply for the poverty-stricken student quota back then? Who knows? Nowadays these so-called poverty-stricken students are full of loopholes. I silently munched on my melon seeds, Sulai's face appearing before me, making him seem even more detestable. Went through all that trouble to steal someone else's opportunity, yet doesn't know how to cherish it, utterly shameless. 5. I never expected to see Pei Ling at that small diner near the school. Wearing an apron and carrying dishes, he maneuvered through the overcrowded little room. His face was glistening with sweat from the steam, oily and flushed, with hair plastered limply to his scalp, looks extremely busy and flustered, but there's not a trace of impatience on his face, always smiling warmly. Even when encountering classmates, he shows no embarrassment, gracefully helping with orders. Between his brows brims a passion for life. When he saw me, he paused for a moment. Then walked up with a smile. What would you like to eat? I'll have the chicken leg noodles. Coming right up, Pei Ling left elegant handwriting on the order slip. Leaning down and lowering his voice, he whispered to me, I'll pick a big chicken drumstick for you later. Hearing this, I couldn't help but burst into laughter, covering my mouth and nodding repeatedly. When the noodles were served, the chicken drumstick was indeed very large. I raised my eyes, and Pei Ling seemed to sense something, turning his head to look at me, then, grinning widely, then threw himself back into work. By the time I finished the noodles, it had grown completely dark outside. After paying, I was about to leave when Pei Ling called out to stop me. Hey Meng, let me walk you home. I was caught off guard. Aren't you still on duty? Pei Ling pointed at the darkening sky outside, his expression serious. It's too late. It's not safe for a girl to go home alone. I froze for a moment, never expecting this to be the reason. I can't help but recall how, back when I was with Sulai, I often stayed late at school studying alone, yet he never once walked me home or showed concern for my safety, and I never really minded either. Now, Pei Ling's straightforward protectiveness has caught me completely off guard. I was momentarily at a loss. Then your work, it's fine, I took half an hour off. I'll make it in time. Pei Ling smiled sincerely, his eyes clear and transparent. Looking at him, I suddenly remembered Sulai's past complaint. Who knows if Pei Ling planned it all along? What a coincidence that Tang Wan just happened to be saved by him. At the time, I neither affirmed nor denied it. Looking back now, perhaps it was just that coincidental, because Pei Ling is inherently a very good person. 6. On the way back, the moon was bright and the stars sparse. Watching Pei Ling walking beside me, I couldn't help but ask, aren't you tired working there? Of course I'm tired. To my surprise, Pei Ling answered without any hesitation. Just as I was hesitating about how to comfort him, he winked at me and grinned. But the boss pays well, and at the end of each day, I get to take leftovers home, so my grandparents don't have to work hard preparing dinner, saving both money and effort. Don't you resent Sulai for taking away your chance to receive the subsidy? To be honest, I did feel upset at first. But without him, I wouldn't have gotten this job. Pei Ling shrugged with a calm expression. In fact, I should thank him. Hearing this, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Truly open-minded people face hardships not with complaints, but with upward striving. In contrast, Sulai was really hard to describe in words. Chatting casually, we unknowingly arrived at the entrance of my residential compound. Pei Ling stopped in his tracks. All right, I'll see you off here. See you tomorrow. Be careful on your way back. See you tomorrow. I quickened my pace, then turned around and waved at him. Only then did he leave with peace of mind. The moment I turned around, someone suddenly appeared right in front of me, startling me into stumbling backward. Clutching my pounding heart, I frowned deeply, my tone far from pleasant. Sulai, what are you doing in the middle of the night? Don't you know you can scare someone to death like this? 7. Sulai gazed in the direction Pei Ling had departed. After a long while, He finally withdrew his gaze and fixed it on my face, taking in my unsettled expression with a single glance, curling his lips into a cold smirk. I never knew before that you were so close with that guy. What? Already found your next option. But Himeng, your taste isn't great, picking such a poor guy. What future could he possibly have? Don't tell me you still think he could rise to fame and fortune like in his past life. Stop dreaming. He's just a pretty boy who climbed up using women. Without Tangwan, he's nothing. I had no intention of getting entangled with him, but hearing his dismissive words about Pei Ling made me involuntarily recall the composed and faintly smiling expression Pei Ling had when he escorted me back earlier. His mind holds deep valleys, and his belly can sail a boat, Chinese idiom meaning broad-mindedness, but I simply can't stand Su Lai's smug look of a petty man gaining success. Oh really? But Pei Ling has excellent grades, works hard and diligently, and most importantly, he's extremely handsome, and your grades are a complete mess, your looks are average. In what way could you possibly compare to him, even if you seize the opportunities that originally belonged to Pei Ling? Can you truly hold on to them? Do you have what it takes? Su Lai. 8. Himeng. Under my questioning, Su Lai's expression grew increasingly unpleasant, gloomy as dark water. When looking at me, his eyes surged with anger. I know it all too well. This was exactly how he looked when he choked me by the neck. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. But, what? Did I hit a nerve and now you're angry? Su Lai. I was just trying to help you face reality. There's no need to be so upset. Noticing his clenched fists, I remained unshaken, even smiling calmly while looking at him. Su Lai, don't forget, you've worked so hard for this second chance. Don't ruin it with impulsiveness. If you get arrested for assault now, no one can save you. After all, your young mistress doesn't even know you yet. After my reminder, Su Lai's clenched fist gradually relaxed. He took several deep breaths, twitched the corner of his mouth, and forced out what he thought was a friendly smile. No matter what, we once loved each other. Why make things so ugly? Back when I was depressed and struggling, you saw it all. Weren't you heartbroken for me? Now that I have a chance for a better life, you should be happy for me. Even if we're not together anymore, we're still friends. Don't you want me to thrive? As he spoke, his voice actually choked up with emotion. I just found it laughable. Had I not experienced life and death, I might have actually fallen for his act. What a pity. But it's just crocodile tears. Who the hell would believe that? Su Lai sobbed for a while, but seeing that I remained completely unresponsive, he found it hard to keep up his solo act. Clearing his throat to mask the awkwardness, he looked at me and regained his original arrogance. Himeng, let's keep to our own paths without interfering with each other. Stop causing trouble for me, and I won't meddle in your affairs with Pei Ling. How about that? There's nothing between me and Pei Ling. But let me give you some advice. Don't foolishly give your all just because he's good looking. When you regret it later and come crawling back to me, I won't take second-hand goods. With that, Su Lai snorted coldly and strode away arrogantly. I stood there, trembling with anger. 9. The monthly exam results are out. Pei Ling unquestionably took first place. After this period of diligent effort, my grades have improved significantly, now ranking within the top 100. As for Su Lai, his grades were already a complete mess. Since his return, he's shown even less interest in studying, with his performance plummeting like a falling elevator. Whenever the homeroom teacher mentions him, the worry adds several new wrinkles to their face. After class, they'd call him to the office, patiently trying to persuade him with earnest advice. However, the results were minimal at best. It happened that I came to ask the subject teacher some questions, and when the homeroom teacher saw me, her eyes lit up. Himeng, come here for a moment. I walked over, and the homeroom teacher pointed at me while saying to Su Lai, you and Himeng have practically grown up together. Look at how much she's improved this time, and then look at yourself. What have you become? If you keep going like this, you won't even make it into a vocational college. Can't you take Himeng as a role model and learn from her properly? Then she looked at me again and sighed. Himeng, we're all classmates and should help each other. When you have free time, try to assist Su Lai more and help improve his grades quickly. I remained silent. Su Lai scoffed disdainfully. Teacher, don't bother with my affairs. I know what I'm doing. To be frank, even if I don't study at all, my future will still be 1,000, no, 10,000 times better than hers. The homeroom teacher was stunned by his confidence and left speechless. I stood aside, fully aware in my heart. Su Lai was determined to climb the social ladder by attaching himself to Tang Wan, seeking shortcuts. How could he possibly be willing to endure hardship? His mind was now consumed by a single thought, meeting Tangwan. So I coldly stated, "Teacher, everyone has their own destiny, it cannot be forced." After speaking, he turned and left. Su Lai followed closely behind and stopped me at the corner. "It seems you've taken my previous words to heart." I didn't understand his inexplicable words. Nor did I want to, looking at him expressionlessly. "Do you need something?" "Nothing, just keep going, whatever you do, don't disturb me, it's almost done." Su Lai rubbed his hands together, his face full of excitement. "I'm about to strike it rich and become one of the elite soon." I couldn't be bothered with his antics, rolled my eyes, and walked straight past him, yet silently calculating the time in my heart. Indeed, that day is almost here, the moment that changes fate. 10. When going to the cafeteria to get food, I spotted Su Lai at first glance. All the other employees had work to do, only he was idle by the side, leaning against the wall playing with his phone. How carefree. I glanced at the camera in the corner, somewhat curious. I wonder how much longer he can keep up this lazy, unproductive routine. Just as I was thinking, someone suddenly said, "The boss is here for inspection." Su Lai, who had been playing with his phone moments ago, dashed to the side of the vegetable-preparing employee, pushed him aside, and started peeling potatoes with a peeler, putting on a show. Who knew he had two faces? I clicked my tongue in secret, then turned away with my tray. After eating, I returned to the classroom to read. After a while, the sudden sound of an ambulance broke the school's original tranquility. It drew a crowd of onlookers. Soon, we learned what had happened. Many people vomited repeatedly after eating in the cafeteria, suspected to be food poisoning, and were urgently sent to the hospital. Upon hearing this, I was startled and immediately touched my forehead, then rubbed my stomach. Fortunately, there were no unusual sensations. I could only silently pray that no one would get hurt. The cause of the accident was quickly determined. It's almost laughable, but it happened because they ate sprouted potatoes. These were the very same potatoes that Su Lai had handled while pretending to work, being clueless about crops. He didn't know sprouted potatoes were toxic. He just casually peeled them, chopped them up, and tossed them into the pot to stew. As a result, everyone who ate them fell ill. Upon learning of this incident, the school administration and cafeteria contractor took it very seriously and immediately reviewed the surveillance footage. This review not only identified the culprit but also exposed Su Lai's long-standing pattern of perfunctory work. The school authorities were furious and immediately revoked his status as a financially disadvantaged student, while also prohibiting him from continuing his work in the cafeteria. He was also given a disciplinary warning, in front of the leader. Su Lai tearfully admitted his mistake. "I know I was wrong. I don't ask for forgiveness. I just hope you'll let me stay here one more day, just one day, please." Seeing his pitiful pleading, everyone's hearts softened, and the leader ultimately granted his request. When the matter reached the classmates' ears, they were also abuzz with discussion. "Do you think Su Lai has something wrong with his head? If he couldn't bear to part with this job, why didn't he cherish it properly? Now that something's happened, he knows regret. Where was this earlier?" They couldn't understand and even came to ask me about it. I could only smile to show I didn't know. Actually, I knew, and I had already made a decision. 11. After school, as usual, I studied in the library until very late, then went to a small restaurant and ate an extra-large chicken leg noodle. This has almost become my daily routine lately. I've gradually become familiar with Pei Ling as well. When the shop isn't busy, he can leave work early. On the way back, I'd ask him some difficult questions, and he would answer everything clearly and thoroughly, never showed the slightest hint of annoyance. When the shop gets busy, I also help out with odd jobs. I always feel a sense of guilt towards him. If we hadn't returned, it wouldn't have changed his fate, and he wouldn't have had to suffer these hardships. That day, he wanted to see me home again. For the first time, I refused him. "I have something else to do later. I won't be going home yet." Pei Ling looked concerned. "It's so late. What could be so urgent? Maybe I can help. This is something others shouldn't get involved in." Hearing this, Pei Ling understood and nodded. "Then be careful. Remember to send me a message when you get home." "Okay." After saying goodbye, I left the shop with my backpack, but I didn't go too far, lingering around the school area, lingering. Finally, under the moonlight, I saw the long-awaited figure. It's Tangwan. Her father bought her an apartment near the school for her convenience. Today was her friend's birthday, and they stayed out very late celebrating. Tangwan walked home step by step under the moonlight. I followed at a distance, careful not to reveal my presence. Only when I saw her enter the building and shortly after, the light in a certain room turned on. did my anxious heart finally settle, since the thing I feared didn't happen. I felt at ease, turning around and seeing Sulai appear. I was no longer surprised by it. Not wanting to engage with him, I took out my phone and was about to send a message when he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Was it you? He Meng, I warned you not to cause trouble. Are you ignoring my words? Or do you really think I won't lay a hand on you? 12. I raised my eyes to meet his gaze, which was filled with fury. A moment later, I suddenly laughed, seeing me actually laugh. Sulai was somewhat stunned, and his grip on my hand loosened slightly. Seizing the opportunity, I withdrew my hand and resumed my previous cold expression. I didn't do anything. Sulai refused to believe it. Impossible. If it weren't for you, how could Tangwan be safe and sound today? In the previous life, she should have been harassed by drunk migrant workers at this time, but they didn't show up. You find it strange, don't you? Guess where they had their meal today? Looking at Sulai's bewildered expression, I couldn't help but laugh again. Because they had food poisoning and were sent to the hospital. They still haven't come out yet. Have you forgotten, Sulai? In the previous life, the school expanded its playground. After completion, the school leaders invited all the workers to eat in the cafeteria. 2 migrant workers got drunk, encountered Tangwan returning late, and had ill intentions, attempting to take advantage of her. Fortunately, Pei Ling, who was also leaving late, came across them, thus preventing a tragedy. And now, the potential troublemaker is still in the hospital on N4 drip. Where would they get the energy to commit a crime? Sulai waited 2 lifetimes for a chance to play the hero and save the beauty, only to ruin it himself. Watching Sulai's face turn increasingly green, I couldn't help but laugh even more joyfully. Sulai's expression shifted repeatedly, his face contorted with anger, teeth clenched in fury. Suddenly, with a frosty expression, he forced words through gritted teeth. Impossible. If that were truly the case, why would you be here? I'm here because I don't believe in so-called coincidences. Even knowing those 2 were poisoned, to be absolutely certain, I had to see Tangwan's safety with my own eyes before I could rest easy. Nothing happened, and with my limited means, I could only protect her safety in my own way, seeking a sliver of peace of mind. And these are things Sulai would never understand. Because he only cares about himself. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to keep waiting here. You might just get another chance. With that, I turned and walked away. After just 2 steps, Sulai's sinister, icy voice came from behind. I won't give up. He Meng, don't you dare try to stop me, or neither of us will have an easy time. Threatening me again, I treated it as nothing more than hot air, ignoring him completely, though my footsteps quickened. Stay away from idiots, or you'll end up miserable. 13. I thought I had perfectly avoided the accident from my previous life, but unexpectedly, a few days later, rumors spread in school that Tangwan encountered harassment from hoodlums while returning late, and Sulai happened to pass by, offering help to drive him away. Tangwan was deeply grateful. Before I could rest easy, nothing happened, and with my limited means, I could only protect her safety in my own way, seeking a sliver of peace of mind. And these are things Sulai would never understand. Because he only cares about himself. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to keep waiting here. You might just get another chance. With that, I turned and walked away. After just 2 steps, Sulai's sinister, icy voice came from behind. I won't give up. He Meng, don't you dare try to stop me, or neither of us will have an easy time. Threatening me again, I treated it as nothing more than hot air, ignoring him completely, though my footsteps quickened. Stay away from idiots, or you'll end up miserable. 13. I thought I had perfectly avoided the accident from my previous life, but unexpectedly, a few days later, rumors spread in school that Tangwan encountered harassment from hoodlums while returning late, and Sulai happened to pass by, offering help to drive them away. Tangwan was deeply grateful to him and learned that he was out so late because he was working part-time to ease his mother's burden. Feeling heartbroken, she proactively helped Sulai's mother secure a relaxed yet well-paying job, and even gave Sulai a sum of money as gratitude. Sulai gladly accepted. Upon learning of this, I couldn't help but feel suspicious. What a coincidence that some troublemakers harassed Tangwan, and Sulai just happened to be there. Could it be? Just as I was utterly perplexed, Sulai swaggered up to me with a triumphant air, clearly showing off. You've all heard, right? Tangwan and I have already gotten acquainted smoothly, and now she has a very favorable impression of me. I believe it won't be long before she becomes my girlfriend, and then, not just her, but her family's company. Everything will be mine. From this moment on, my life is truly going to change. He Meng, If you apologize to me now, I might reluctantly forgive you, although I can't give you any official status. Keeping you as my mistress and ensuring you live in luxury wouldn't be difficult for me." After speaking, he wore a smug smile, looking down at me condescendingly as if bestowing a favor, waiting for my response. I, speechless, after a long silence, I couldn't hold back and asked seriously, "Is your family so poor now that you can't even afford a mirror?" "What do you mean?" "Take a piss and take a good look at yourself. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. You should see if you're even worthy." Rolling my eyes, I curled my lips in disdain, like a toad crawling on your foot. "It doesn't bite, but it sure disgusts you." "You." Sulai was furious, his finger trembling at me as if he had Parkinson's. After grinding my teeth for a long time, I finally squeezed out a sentence. "Just wait and see. The day will come when you'll beg me." "Ah, yes, yes, yes." I nodded perfunctorily without even looking at him, took the exercise book to find Pei Ling. "Don't waste time arguing with idiots. You'd be better off discussing studies with top students." Though eyes burned into my back like thorns, I remained utterly unfazed. 14. Sulai grew increasingly resentful as I repeatedly undermined his dignity. Seeing me grow closer to Pei Ling only deepened his sense of humiliation. So during PE class when playing basketball against another class, Sulai deliberately targeted Pei Ling, throwing the ball straight at his face. Fortunately, Pei Ling was quick to react and dodged it every time. Seeing this made Sulai even angrier, and he actually charged straight at him. There were other students beside Pei Ling, and to avoid accidentally hurting them, he had no choice but to take the hit and was knocked to the ground. Everyone immediately gathered around to ask about his condition. Before Pei Ling could speak, they heard Sulai exclaim, "My shoe!" Drawn by his voice, everyone turned to look. There on Sulai's pristine white shoe was a large, glaring footprint. Sulai glared furiously, pointing at his shoe while staring daggers at Pei Ling. "Do you know how expensive these shoes are? Over 2,000. That's enough to buy your worthless life. Pay up, or lick them clean." The moment these words were spoken, the crowd collectively showed expressions of shock. Someone couldn't help but speak up for Pei Ling. "Sulai, that's too harsh. You were clearly the one who bumped into Pei Ling just now. The shoe getting stepped on wasn't intentional. If we're talking compensation, you should be compensating Pei Ling first. He's actually injured." Glancing at the scrapes on Pei Ling's arms and knees, Sulai dismissed them with contempt. "If you don't have the skills, don't come play. Wouldn't it be better to just stick to washing dishes? Who are you trying to fool with this pitiful act? I'm not buying it." They kept shouting, demanding Pei Ling to pay compensation. A group of people gathered together, arguing fiercely, witnessing everything. I quietly walked over to Tangwan, who was standing nearby, casually bringing it up. "That's odd. Isn't Sulai a financially struggling student? How can he afford sports shoes costing over 2,000 yuan? Tangwan frowned slightly and looked at me. I smiled at her with an air of innocence, mixed with a hint of awkwardness. "Sorry. There's been some conflict among classmates. Please excuse the scene." Then shifting the topic. "But Sulai is really something. He went through great lengths to obtain financial aid for impoverished students, yet refused to work diligently. After complaints nearly got him in trouble, he carelessly almost caused a life-threatening incident. I heard he took on another part-time job outside, but quit after just a few days. All this back and forth. What exactly does he want? Is he trying to experience life?" With a troubled expression, I turned and walked away. As I turned, the melancholy on my face vanished completely. Glancing sideways at Sulai, who had already been pulled aside, I smiled faintly. "Sulai, this is the gift I prepared for you. You must accept it with a smile." 15. The conflict on the court was finally resolved with the teacher's intervention, as both sides apologized to each other, putting the matter to rest. When I went to buy medicine for Pei Ling, I unexpectedly ran into Sulai. He glanced at the alcohol and band-aids in my hand and sneered, "Going to such lengths for that poor boy, huh? What? Do you still think he'll rise to prominence like in his past life? Stop dreaming. This time, I'm the one who'll win. Is that so? If you're so confident, why do you keep targeting Pei Ling everywhere?" Stunned by my question, Sulai faltered, stammering without giving a proper answer. "Because you're insecure. You act all proud on the surface, but deep down you're utterly hollow. You know you snatched an opportunity that rightfully belonged to Pei Ling, and you're terrified he might take it back one day. You're also painfully aware he's far more talented than you, which is why you constantly target him, bully him, and desperately try to ruin him. Only by seeing him completely crushed with no chance of recovery can you rest easy. Honestly, you're quite pathetic. Even something you're so sure of can't give you peace of mind. How dare you flaunt it in front of me? At the end of the day, you're just a petty thief, stealing someone else's chance, climbing to a position that isn't yours, yet lying awake at night, consumed by paranoia. Sulai, do you believe that even without prior opportunities, Pailing's abilities would still make him stand out? Because he deserves it. As for you, with your high ambitions but low skills, the higher you fly, the harder you'll fall. I spared no sarcasm in mocking him. Some people just can't be reasoned with. Why waste your breath? Sulai flushed red with anger at my taunts, even considered resorting to violence at one point. I tilted my chin, gesturing toward the surveillance cameras around us. Got burned by these cameras once before. Still haven't learned your lesson. Lay a finger on me, and I'll make sure you're sued into bankruptcy. Everyone gets a second chance. Why should I have to put up with him? Sulai indeed hesitated to act rashly, fearing the consequences. After holding back for so long, all he could muster was, "Since you think so highly of him, just wait and see. I'll crush him under my feet, leaving him no chance to recover. By then, even if you come begging in tears, it'll be useless." Oh, really? Well, I'll be waiting to see that. I responded perfunctorily and hurried back with the medicine. I need to hurry up, or Pailing's wound will have healed by the time I get back. 16. Sulai has been feeling somewhat confused lately. Originally, according to his expectations, after saving Tangwan, she should have viewed him differently. As they spent time together, feelings would gradually develop. Tangwan would secretly harbor affection for him, and then he would confess, leading them to naturally get together. But ever since he saved Tangwan, although she helped his mother arrange a new job and gave him a sum of money, then, there was no follow-up. Tangwan didn't give him any special treatment, nor did she show him excessive concern. Even when Sulai took the initiative to visit her, he was almost always politely declined for various reasons. Sulai couldn't figure out where exactly things had gone wrong in the previous life. It was almost Tangwan who actively sought out Pailing's company, so why, now that it's his turn, has the situation completely reversed? Not just her, but other classmates were also becoming increasingly distant towards him. No one to team up with, no one to chat with, not even someone willing to lend homework to copy. After several interactions, Sulai also began to sense something was off. He spent his own money to buy snacks, hoping to improve relations with classmates. It wasn't to maintain classmate bonds, but rather out of fear that Tangwan might see and misunderstand something. Unfortunately, his goodwill went unappreciated. The more blunt one spoke without reservation. "I wouldn't dare eat your food. What if it turns out to be some imported snack? I couldn't afford to pay you back." Sulai immediately recalled the basketball court incident. Facing the crowd's ambiguous gazes, he grew both furious and humiliated. In the end, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I witnessed the whole thing but remained non-committal. He brought this upon himself. He deserved it, but I never expected Sulai would come looking for me. 17. Himeng, please help me. You're the only one who can help me now. Looking at Sulai's panicked expression, I felt somewhat surprised. Is being isolated by classmates really such a big deal? Soon I would realize how naive I had been. Are you saying that when Tangwan was harassed by those punks, it was actually a staged act you arranged? Watching Sulai nod guiltily, I could only look up at the sky speechlessly. He's really pushing his luck with the law. Although I had such suspicions before, I quickly dismissed them. After all, he had been warned long ago, so logically he shouldn't be foolish enough to knowingly break the law. However, there are indeed suspicious aspects to this matter, which is why I subtly reminded Tangwan. I had no other choice. Without this method, how could I establish contact with Tangwan? Besides, I know my limits. Those two small-time thugs didn't go too far. They just scared her a bit. She didn't suffer any real harm, so why insist on making such a big deal out of it? She even sent someone to investigate, and they actually uncovered the truth. Now she's coming after me. If this gets pinned on me, my life is over. Himeng, you must help me. I swear I won't let you down. I'm a bit curious. How do you want me to help you? Could it be that you want me to provide an alibi? As it turned out, I was too naive and underestimated the depths of his shamelessness. He said, "Go tell Tangwan that you were the one who found those people, because you had a crush on me. But my heart belongs to Tangwan. Your love turned to hatred, and you sought revenge by having her bullied. The reason I showed up in time was because I knew what you were up to. But out of respect for our years of friendship, I didn't want to ruin your future. So I kept silent." This way, not only will I clear my name, but I'll also gain a reputation for being loyal and righteous. Tangwan is so kind-hearted, she'll definitely see me in a new light, and everything will fall into place naturally. Su Lai grew more and more excited as he spoke, flecks of foam forming at the corners of his mouth. He gripped my shoulders with both hands, his eyes burning with fervor. Don't worry, if you help me, I won't let you down. I'll let bygones be bygones. And when I rise to success, you'll get your share of the rewards. But if I take the blame for you, I might get expelled and miss the college entrance exam. I frowned, looking troubled. Su Lai dismissed it casually. So what? Even if you get into college and join the workforce, you'd just be slaving away for a measly 3,000 or 4,000 a month. What's the point? You're better off sticking with me. When the time comes, if I get a piece of Tangwan, you'll get your share of the broth. I hesitated. Really? Of course it's true. Su Lai's hand tightened with increasing force, almost crushing my bones. His expression was wildly out of control. After hesitating for a moment, I reluctantly nodded. All right. Seeing my agreement, Su Lai was overjoyed and couldn't wait another second, immediately bringing me before Tangwan. Tangwan, I told you I'd explain everything to you. Su Lai gazed at Tangwan with deep affection, wearing an expression that, though misunderstood, still couldn't bear to blame her. I brought someone who will clarify everything. Facing Tangwan, I took a deep breath and then pulled out the phone hidden in my pocket and played a recording. 18. When Su Lai heard his own voice coming from the phone, his composed expression completely shattered. He rushed forward trying to snatch my phone, but was immediately pinned to the ground by Tangwan's companions, unable to move. After the recording finished playing, I said, "This recording was secretly made by me and can't serve as evidence, but it's enough to make you understand the whole truth." Tangwan nodded. I understand. Thank you for this. If you need any help, just ask. Don't hesitate. I have no other requests. Pointing at Su Lai, who was pinned to the ground, I smiled brightly. Just don't let him off easily. In my previous life, he caused my death, and even after getting a second chance, he kept threatening and intimidating me. Did he really think I was an easy target? Su Lai, who had initially given up resisting, began struggling frantically again upon hearing these words. Unfortunately, he was a weakling, and despite exerting all his strength, he couldn't break free. He could only watch helplessly as his true fate arrived. 19. Su Lai was fired. The evidence was irrefutable, leaving no room for excuses. Out of consideration for Tangwan's reputation and the school's image, the reason for the expulsion was not made public. However, everyone was smart enough to roughly guess some of the reasons. His departure was merely an insignificant episode in their youthful years, and after being discussed for 2 or 3 days, it gradually faded into silence. After some more time, almost everyone forgot that such a person had existed. Without Su Lai, I finally felt a sense of relief, no longer constantly choked by the specter of past death. Pei Ling regained the title of impoverished student, enjoying the subsidies and assistance provided by the school, with grades as steady as Mount Tai. As for me, with his help, my grades also progressed steadily. During the college entrance exam, I performed exceptionally well, achieving unexpectedly outstanding results. It was a world of difference compared to my previous life. After entering university, I balanced my academic studies while never forgetting to make money. Pei Ling was the top scorer in the college entrance exam and chose to major in finance. Without hesitation, I freely absorbed his knowledge and experience, combining it with memories from my past life to tentatively venture into investments and stock trading, achieving excellent returns. By the time I graduated, I had already become a young woman of considerable wealth. As for Pei Ling, due to his outstanding academic performance, he secured an internship at the Tang Corporation during his sophomore year. That's right, the very same Tang Corporation owned by Tangwan. After graduation, directly became part of the management. There, he met, got to know, and fell in love with Tangwan. When I received their wedding invitation, I couldn't help but feel emotional. Some people, even if they once drifted apart, will eventually find their way back to each other. Such was the case with Pei Ling and Tangwan. Su Lai had always believed it was that act of heroism saving the beauty that gave Pei Ling the opportunity. Little did he know, what Pei Ling relied on was always his own capability. Opportunities were chances for him, but never the decisive factor. Sadly, Su Lai would never understand. 20. The next time I saw Su Lai was at Pei Ling and Tangwan's wedding ceremony. Hand in hand, they walked step by step toward happiness. I went out for some fresh air and spotted someone crouching in the corner, our eyes met, and he called out my name with a trembling voice. Meng. I was shocked to discover that this disheveled homeless man before me was actually Su Lai. After not seeing him for years, I almost didn't recognize him. But it's no wonder, after being expelled, Su Lai's mother wanted him to continue studying at a school in another city. After all, the reason for his expulsion wasn't made public, so the impact on him wasn't particularly severe. However, Su Lai stubbornly refused, insisting that studying was utterly useless and merely a waste of time. He believed he could make a fortune on his own even without going to college. After some arguments, he quietly took the family's savings and, relying on memories from his past life, also ventured into investments. Yet, having no research or preparation in this field and understanding nothing about it, he quickly lost everything. Upon learning of this, Su Lai's mother was so furious that she collapsed on the spot, and her leisurely job was gone too. Their once comfortable life suddenly became financially strained. Su Lai still refused to admit his mistakes, remaining determined to take shortcuts to make big money. With no capital, he turned to gambling. At the beginning, he did win some money and felt hopeful, so he recklessly threw all his money in. As expected, he lost everything. The gambler was in over his head with no way out. Su Lai believed he could recover his losses and get it all back, so he directly mortgaged his house. However, the outcome remained unchanged. Having lost his capital, his house, and even accumulated a mountain of debt, Su Lai became a social outcast, hiding during the day and only daring to come out in the dead of night, sometimes when debt collectors caught him. He couldn't avoid a brutal beating. He even had several fingers cut off and his leg broken for failing to repay the money. Physical disabilities and life's misfortunes tormented Su Lai relentlessly. His mind began to show signs of disturbance, becoming increasingly eccentric, telling everyone he met that he could foresee the future, yet unbeknownst to him, from the moment he snatched Pei Ling's poverty-stricken student quota in this renewed life, everything had already changed. The butterfly effect quietly permeated his entire existence. 21. When he saw me, a glimmer of clarity emerged from Su Lai's muddled eyes. He struggled to get up and walked towards me. Although from a single-parent family, his father left behind a substantial pension, enough for them to live comfortably. Cheers and applause echoed from the hall. Catching his attention, Tang Wan ultimately married Pei Ling, didn't she? Yes. Receiving an affirmative answer, Su Lai laughed at himself mockingly. As he laughed, tears inadvertently slipped down. So, what's the point of letting me start over, going in circles? The outcome remains the same. Are you playing with me? Heavens! Watching his grief-stricken, nearly frenzied appearance, I smiled faintly. The meaning of getting a second chance might be to keep me away from you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living as well as I am now. Hearing this, Su Lai suddenly looked at me. His eyes filled with excitement. He moved cautiously step by step, speaking humbly. Meng, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have treated you like that. But think about it. Without me, you wouldn't have gotten this second chance to live such a good life now. For the sake of our past relationship, please help me, okay? As he spoke, he suddenly lunged at me, and then, the bodyguard standing nearby kicked him 3 meters away, leaving him sprawled on the ground, unable to get up. I chuckled softly. I'm not a fool. How could I not be on guard against you?